WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's showtime.
And welcome into the Tuesday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody's doing well. We got a lot to get to on the program here today. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Just freaking amazing. How are you?
Doing great. I sense a little sarcasm from Rexrode.
I sense a little too, Rexrode.
My head's been like a balloon for 2 straight days, and it's enough, man.
Yeah, it's time for the body to cooperate with Rexrode, no question. Michelle,
Give me some. I need some witchcraft remedies out there on the text line.
I know a guy. Plays quarterback in Green Bay. See if we can get that figured out. Michelle, what's going on? How are you?
Doing great, Rob. I just told you Tuesdays I think are going to be my hardest day because, we got the night class.
Oh, yeah.
Taught by your one and only Professor K.
Professor K, back at it again this week.
I was telling Robby, had a cool speaker last night, Chuck Swirsky, and
Nice.
he is play-by-play for the Bulls, but he covered the Raptors when Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter were there. He covered the Red Wings when Darren McCarty was there. I'm like, oh, so you just hit every team right at the perfect time. So pretty cool last night, but definitely a little sleepy this morning. So definitely.
Well, wait. I do have to interject there. Why is he covering the Bulls at the perfect time? They suck.
Joe, you know what? I'm gonna need you to chip her up this morning. Okay, we're gonna need to be
That
positive.
actually made me feel better.
Did
That
it?
made me feel
Oh,
better.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy. I'm so happy.
That was the witchcraft that Rexrode was searching for right there.
Boy.
Just beautiful stuff. So there was some news yesterday, Joe, as soon as we were getting off the air, which is I'm starting to notice becoming a theme out there. When NFL news hits, it typically happens either right as we're going off the air or soon after we're off the air. The Titans releasing Brett Kern yesterday. So the end of an era here in Nashville. The Titans have released Brett Kern. Ryan Stonehouse going to be the punter for the Titans as the season begins. Joe, I'm interested in a couple different things. Number one, just your thoughts on the move itself. We knew it was a possibility. I think we knew it was a legitimate competition, but the fact that they've actually done it and Brett Kern is now gone and Ryan Stonehouse is the punter, your thoughts on the moves that John Robinson and the Titans have made in the kicking game?
Yeah, well, it makes for a less suspenseful day because I thought that might have been the biggest thing today to wonder about, but they got it out there and they wanted to do it. Clearly, the Titans wanted this is not your average player move. Put out a statement, put out a statement from John Robinson, put out a release on Brett Kern and. Then all he's done, and Brett Kern had a really nice statement too, going out. And look, it is a risky move because I think we all know generally what you would get this year with Brett Kern. The operation, the field goal has been, they've been together for a while, and Brett Kern has been good this preseason, and he would have been good this year. And obviously, he's incredibly good at times at just that precision inside the 20, inside the 10. But I get it because Stonehouse is a beast. There's no other way to put it. The guy just has a huge leg, and it looks like he also. It's not like he's just out there blindly rocketing footballs all over the field without any sense of placement. And if he can continue to hone his skills, then he's a heck of a weapon. They are going to flip the field more effectively now than they would have. We'll see how he does, on shorter fields.
Yeah, that's going to be the question with him. I think you talked about this yesterday and laid it out pretty clearly. I mean, the ability to flip the field from deep in your own territory right now is, I think, a bigger strength today for the Titans than it was yesterday. But, you know, what happens when you're in a pressure situation? You know, I heard Chase Willie and D-Mace talking about this yesterday too. When you're in Buffalo and you're pinned into your own end zone and you got to have a punt and the wind's blowing and the crowd's going nuts, like how does a young punter handle that type of presser situation when it's, you know, late in the season and you got to pin somebody in, you know, the 10-yard line? Can he keep it in there? Can he not punt it through the back of the end zone? Like there are little plays that sometimes go unnoticed that Brett Kern was just so good at throughout the course of his career. And, you know, I don't know that Stonehouse is going to be able to match that immediately, but can he hold his own in kind of that shorter punting game in those pressure-packed situations? That's something you can feel good about. I'm not sure that's something we're actually going to know until he's put in those situations in the regular season.
Yeah, and one thing that was replayed often yesterday was, you know, that last punt at New England in the playoff game.
Yeah.
Kern just, you know, plops it down at the 1. And it's not like, it's not like the Pats had much of a chance, right? They were down a point. So even if you down a point in the waning under 20 seconds, but even at their own 20, I mean, look at what Josh Allen did last year against the Chiefs. You know, if they're at their own 20, you still get 2 sideline shots and you can line up for a winning field goal. You know, he puts them at the 1. And of course, Logan Ryan, you know, pick 6 and it's over. But I mean, basically he ended the game.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, because I heard Jared say this yesterday, and I don't disagree. I'd love specifics if someone wanted to go back and find out how many, you could say, games. Because Jared said he won a lot of games for the Titans, which I know some people would probably be like, come on, it's a punter. But I promise you there have been games that aren't won without some of his punts. I mean, key factor in wins without question. And there's one right there. He put that one away.
Yeah, and he's been a weapon for a long time. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been in this franchise since 2009. So he was the longest tenured Titan. Now Taylor Lewan is the longest tenured Titan out there, and you're talking about a 5-year gap between those two guys. So, you know, he's been around forever. He's a franchise legend. Look, he was a great punter during his time here, and I think one day, like, you can make a case he belongs in like the Titans Ring of Honor one day with how good of a punter that he was. But, you know, at some point the decision came down to this, and it was, what about this year, Brett Kern, or could you have your next punter for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years, however long it's going to be? And it feels like the Titans feel like they found that guy. Like, to me, I think it's less about how Brett Kern punted in camp and more about what they think they have in Stonehouse, which is why I don't think Brett Kern is going to be looking for a job all that long. I think he's going to find one pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting. Obviously, he's from Buffalo, so I mean, it all lines up for Brett Kern to be punting against the Titans on Monday Night Football in Week 2 for his hometown Bills. But there are other teams. I mean, actually, what is the Colts situation? I know they picked somebody up, I believe.
Yeah, they did, but I would think they're probably looking at him. Would be my guess.
I mean, hey, man, you know, the thing about this is, you know, Brett Kern agreed to, you know, a pay cut for this year. But, man, at this point, I could see some serious interest in him for some team. I mean, look, especially if you're a really good team that just hasn't had really good punting, because it's just been taken for granted with the Titans.
Yeah.
It's been taken for granted for years. And that honestly can make a big difference for you. If you're a really good team and you're close, but that's just been something that's been missing. So I would think both of those franchises would be really interested in him, and maybe more. Maybe this becomes quite a pursuit of Brett Kern.
Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Josh from Cookeville on the text line says, my nostalgia is sad to see Kern go. He's a wonderful leader, person, and player, but I understand Stonehouse winning the job. I got another text that says, also a plus for Stonehouse is it looks like he could play linebacker if he had to. The dude is kind of jacked. Maybe that was the deciding factor at the end of the day. Some third-string linebacker reps.
I mean, maybe he got a shot in at Vrabel. That's kind of like
maybe so.
That's the Vrabel. I think that's part of like the evaluation, like 53 times today, like who actually rocked Vrabel back on his heels. No, you're right. He's kind of now Brett Kern could do some stuff too. Brett Kern was quite a trick play guy.
We know.
I almost feel like Stonehouse, just dropped that snap on purpose just so we can show everybody how he can run the football.
Yeah. But it's kind of amazing. Like, this is not something that really ever gets talked about. But let's just think about this franchise for a second. From 1998 until 2009, they had basically one punter. It was Craig Hendrick the whole time. And then Brett Kern takes over after that, and then all of a sudden – he's here until now. So basically throughout the history of your franchise, I know more guys have punted for them because of injury and whatnot, but basically for the last 20-some-odd years, you've had Craig Hendrick and Brett Kern punting the ball for the Titans, and that's about it. It's pretty amazing.
And Hendrick was a hell of a punter too, by the way.
Yeah, he was.
No, and that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. Is that kind of continuity, and I think that the Titans might just have another long-term guy here. I think they don't make this move if they don't think so. It's still, again, his net punting 41-3 in the preseason. That's got to get better. You got to take a couple of those touchbacks and and make them a little more precise and not outkick your coverage, because of course that can lead to big returns and also just lost yardage if you kick it into the end zone. But obviously they must feel like they can mold him and keep honing him and really have a weapon here.
An end of an era here in Nashville. Brett Kern released yesterday by the Titans. Ryan Stonehouse now the punter for the two-tone blow. We'll take your reaction on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll get to another move made by the Titans yesterday as well. All that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at theGameNashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes. Like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Oh, yeah! Go to theGameNashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Hey, Robby Stanley here, and FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet, and you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. Lots of interesting college football props out there. I'm looking at the Vols over 7.5 wins this year, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. The app is easy to use, and they're always hooking you up with great odds as well. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel app today, sign up with promo code ROB, and place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the college football season. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Jim Jeffries,
Here's the thing about millennials.
live on stage. You're the worst people that have ever lived.
Saturday, October 8th at Ryman Auditorium. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Long weekends are all about getting a little you time. And at the Home Depot, you time means you building, you drilling, you doing, you recharging, you saving, and you going back for more. Do Labor Day your way and get a free 18-volt battery with select Milwaukee Power Toolkit purchases at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
I got Park Hill and West Valley covered on Tuesday.
At Marita's Pool Service, the current staffing plan doesn't hold water.
3 more neighborhood pools on the same day.
She needs more pool technicians to dive into work head first.
That's awesome, but now we're shorthanded.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say? Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing the Titans and welcoming your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Aaron on the text line says, I wonder if Hendrick is going to come teach Stonehouse the knuckleball. That was quite the weapon that Craig Hendrick used to have back in the day. We'll see if Ryan Stonehouse knows how to kick the knuckleball for the Titans, but that was a Craig Hendrick specialty back in the day.
Well, he does have he has his own version, that we've seen. He's got the little rugby style deal.
Oh yeah.
So and at least one of them in the preseason was very good. I know he had one in the game against the Bucks that I thought was just perfect, but it bounced back. He got a bad bounce, so he didn't get the result, but it was a promising attempt.
So we'll see what happens on that front, and if Stonehouse can handle maybe the finer nuances of punting the ball at the NFL level. Joe, there was another move made yesterday by the Titans. They acquired an offensive lineman, Dennis Daly, in a trade with the Carolina Panthers yesterday. So the Titans received Daly and a 7th-round pick in the 2024 draft, and they gave up a 5th-rounder in the 2024 draft as well. Daly, a guy that was a 6th-round pick back in 2019. He has 21 career starts, has appeared in 34 career games, including last year, played in 15 games, 9 starts, has played left tackle, has played left guard, and has played right guard as well. So some experience at guard, but a lot of experience at left tackle as well. So what did you make of that move yesterday for the Titans? We knew one was probably coming with the offensive line, and they make it yesterday with Dennis Daly from Carolina.
Yeah, well, I think it's I like doing something like this as opposed to waiting and hoping, on the waiver wire. Find someone you feel like can improve your depth. You swap a 5th for a 7th. You drop a couple spots in the draft 2 years from now, and see if you can bolster your depth. I didn't like that. I was at my kid's JV football game and I had to scramble to adjust my final 53. So I wish the Titans would we get like Brett Kern news with at least an hour of the show yesterday. That would have been great. And then I wish this didn't happen as a news dump. But this is how it goes during football season. And so we can talk about that later, but I actually had I'll tell you right now, I don't have Jamarco Jones making this team. So I put Dennis Daly down there, at the bottom of the pile. But Dennis Daly, to me, could now be the swing tackle. Now, look, you could look at this, and I bet you I know somebody who does look at it this way. Like, okay, well, now Dylan Radins can go. You got a swing tackle. You don't need Radins. I still think Radins makes this team, and they can put him at different spots. But look, the depth of this offensive line, the starters are a big enough question. The biggest question on the team. The depth clearly wasn't good. I mean, you could see that in the preseason. So hopefully for the Titans, they got a guy now who can go in there and be effective if needed, because you got to have a swing tackle you feel decent about.
Well, you do. My question is, can he play right tackle? Because he's not played right tackle in this league. He's played 13 games at left, 7 games at left guard, and 1 game at right guard. So he's at least played on the right side before. But can he play right tackle? I mean, that's would be the question I'd want to know, because obviously you feel good about Taylor Lewan over there at left tackle. But if one of those two goes down, let's say Lewan goes down, I think it's just as likely the Titans may move Petit Frere over to the left side and move the swing tackle over the right. Like, I don't know what the Titans would do in that situation. So I guess my main question with Dennis Daly would be, like, does he have the ability to play right tackle for this group?
See, I don't know that they would do that with Petit Frere. And I know he got work in the preseason, but now it's like they so badly need him to be good at right tackle.
Sure.
This happened before too, by the way, with like Conklin, like that year when Lewan missed first. We're going to be like, you know what? Conklin's the right tackle. He's good at right tackle. Keep him at right tackle and, figure that out. And so I think that's what they do. I think what it might be is, because you're right, Daly, 13 of his 21 starts at left tackle. He might be Lewan's backup, and Radins might be Petit Frere's backup. And if that's the case, fine. You can do that too. There's nothing wrong with having a depth chart with different backups at different spots. And for people who hate the idea of Radins as Petit Frere's backup, look, man, there's not a huge gap between them. I mean, there really isn't. Not right now. I mean, there may be, and I think it's the right choice to go with Petit Frere, but the reality, and it's a bit scary of a reality, is that there's not the huge gap there.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see now. Like, you brought up an interesting name, Jamarco Jones, who we've not seen a lot of so far during the preseason. Like, he's got NFL experience, obviously, but I start to look at this depth chart right now, and I don't know where he fits into it. Like, Dylan Radins, to me, if you're going to move him inside and he's going to be your backup right tackle, like, is Jamarco Jones, who we've not seen basically at all in the last few weeks, is he going to be a part of this offensive line group? Like, the more I think about it, and I know that they've paid him, and I know that they made a move to go get him, and he's come over here from Seattle, and he's got NFL experience, I just don't know that he's going to have a spot on this team by the time 3 o'clock rolls around today.
Yeah, I'm very, very questioning that. And maybe, look, they just like sometimes the guy's banged up, but they're like, yeah, but we know that he's a certain level of player. It's fine. He'll get healthy. It'll be fine. I just feel like even when he played, it wasn't very effective. And from what I saw, and that's limited. That's a limited analysis. But it just seemed that way. Didn't seem like he was making much of an impact. Then he's hobbled and banged up. So I actually have Jordan Roos making the team over him, and that may be a mistake. It may be that neither of them make it. Maybe it is Jones instead of him. Maybe I have them keeping 9. Maybe they only keep 8. But I think certainly Jamarco Jones has got to be nervous today. After that camp, it just doesn't look like a very effective pickup.
So, Joe, with the move at punter now solidified, with Stonehouse being the guy, what are some other moves and or players that you have your eye on today, as roster is due to be cut down to 53 today by 3 o'clock? What are some other position groups or players that have your interest today when 3 o'clock rolls around?
Well, obviously, number one is quarterback 2 or 3. What are they going to do? I've embraced the Woodside will be there, and he can just be signed to the practice squad approach. Certainly, is there going to be a 6th receiver? I think that's a big question. Is there going to be a 4th tight end? I mentioned offensive line. I only have them keeping 5 defensive linemen, but I think that could be a mistake too. I think they could easily keep 6. Will they keep the 5th outside linebacker? You can go through all the positions. I at corner and safety, there's a lot of, like, you go down to we know the top 4 at corner, right? And Chris Jackson has been a nice veteran player for the Titans, a really good 7th-round pick in 2020. I'm not sure about him. I had him on my roster. I don't know. You know, there's Trey Swilling over there. There's, you know, the Ugo Amadi, who they just picked up. You know, there's Greg Maben. I mean, how do they view? That's so hard to tell how they view that group, and then safety too. I think Theo Jackson's going to make the team, but I know a lot of people who don't. So that's going to be interesting. I feel like he's done enough, but there's other guys out there. There's Kalu and Gillespie and Johnson, and look, I believe, from what I've seen, I believe AJ Moore is the third safety. He's been banged up, but I mean, based on the reps he was getting, I think he's the third safety. So I think he's on the team. But that group it seems like maybe safety and corner goes a little deeper on numbers because of the uncertainty. But then, you know, there's always a question too when the Titans are doing this, you know, like, okay, but this guy will get through. Like, I think some of those defensive linemen, like Deshaun Hand, if he doesn't make the team, I think he's going to get scooped up. Because I don't think every team has as many quality guys as the Titans had. Laurel Murchison, I mean, I don't think he's making the team.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of really interesting ones. And if you do have that extra spot at quarterback, you know, where do you take advantage of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the more I think about it, the more I think that they're going to go the 1-2 route with Tannehill, Willis, and then try to sneak Woodside through. And if they do, then they feel good about it. Obviously, if they don't, then they're going to have to find another quarterback at that point. But the more I think about it, Joe, the more that I think I'd be pretty surprised if somebody picks up Logan Woodside out there. I guess unless you're like the Giants and we're like, all right, let's game plan for the Titans in week 1. Outside of that situation.
I mean, it worked for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it did.
They got Luke Falk and managed to create thunderstorms and
longest game ever.
Absolutely, you know, devastating injuries to Mariota, Lewan, and Delaney Walker, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, longest game ever. Great day.
Really good stuff. We'll keep you updated all show long. Should some moves come out today on our show, we'll keep you updated where the 53-man roster due around the league today at 3 o'clock. So looking forward to that. Coming up next, we'll continue the conversation on the Titans. There's been a lot of chatter out there about Derrick Henry league-wide this offseason, but there's one thing that's got me curious as to what this could mean for the Titans, and it's very, very positive. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Well, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. It's back to school season, and Hiller is giving you free backyard upgrades all month long. Tackle those necessary home replacements in August to take advantage of these special deals, like a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater, a free Traegerwood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator, and also Hiller's going to keep you cool for back to school with special limited time financing promotions on these HVAC replacements. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or refinish the old one that you've got? R&S R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months, same as cash financing, and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate. Or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the game at 615-737-1025.
O'Reilly. Change your vehicle's oil before your summer road trip and save money now with Pennzoil and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get 5 quarts of Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic for just $22.95 after mail-in rebate. Save money and protect your engine against sludge and wear with the synthetic oil change. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. We'll have Caroline Fenton coming up at 7 o'clock. Get her thoughts on week 1 of college football coming up this weekend. Looking forward to that. Right now, talking Titans and welcoming your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, there's been a lot of chatter this offseason about Derrick Henry, and it's always interesting to me. We get to this time of the year through training camp, and Derrick Henry basically becomes an afterthought because he's not really doing anything during training camp. He's getting ready for the season, and he's in the sand pit, and you're not seeing him in the preseason games, and it's easy to kind of forget about Derrick Henry as he's over there off to the side getting ready for the regular season. But he's back. He's healthy. He looks like he's ready to go. And there's been a lot of talk this offseason, Joe, about the decline of Derrick Henry. We've talked about pieces from Bill Barnwell or Football Outsiders about, not breaking as many tackles before the injury last year or being in sort of a decline with his yards per carry going down. Lots of different things that we've talked about with Derrick Henry. But my question to you is a simple one from the standpoint of I think it's a real possibility. What happens this year if Derrick Henry is vintage Derrick Henry and the injury's behind him and he's every bit the player that he's been for the last couple of years? What does that mean? What does that mean for the Titans? What does it mean for their bottom line? How important is it for the Titans that that's the case this year and that Derrick Henry is vintage Derrick Henry? What are your thoughts on number 22 as we sit here today? Again, he's an afterthought during training camp because he doesn't do anything, but now he's about to become very, very important for this team as the Giants game is almost upon us.
Yeah, it's a good question. And first of all, I think we're going to see vintage Derrick Henry from the start here, and we'll see if he holds up and he's that guy all year and plays all year. But I think that's what we're going to see. Remember, that's what he was last year before he got hurt, and they still had, they still were disappointing offensively, right? For a lot of they were up and down, but they were often disappointing because pass protection wasn't there and the passing game wasn't the same. And, a lot of things that, like the injuries to receivers and stuff like that. I mean, right now that hasn't happened at all in camp other than, I guess, Traylon Burks being a little bit banged up. So he could be vintage Derrick Henry, and they could be not great. I mean, that is possible. I mean, that really is. That's what we saw last year. But what they've got to do is, if they get that, they got to do a better job of taking advantage of it. They got to get back to being that devastating play action team. Again, I think that they've got to get back to being, and I think this could help with Derrick Henry, a 2 tight end team. It's going to be a lot of, a Swaim on there with Hooper, with some Chigakonkwo mixed in, but 2 tight end, unpredictable, run the football and play action off that. And if all that happens and then the protection holds up, I think it's going to mean very good things for the Titans. But that last if is still there. I mean, it's still all part of the puzzle. And it's like Derrick Henry last year. I'm trying to think of the opener. I know that there was a lot of this is why you don't just put Derrick Henry in the sand pit. But I don't I think he just got taken out of that game, right? Because it was, the score got separation pretty quickly there. And a lot of it just had to do with, everything went poorly for the Titans, but it started with Ryan Tannehill not being vintage Derrick Henry could mean I'm not projecting like a 31 points a game offense like 2020, but it could be a better offense than last year, even without AJ Brown, which is saying a lot. But it's just, can you block? You got to block. And last year they could not protect Tannehill.
Yeah, that's at some point every discussion you have with the offense for the Titans is going to go back to that line in some form or fashion. Now, there's a different element to it this year as well. Like last year, pass blocking was a concern. You still felt pretty good about them running the ball and the run blocking part of it. This year, and the run blocking part of it, I think, is a little different with Saffold gone. How does Brewer fit that role? At right tackle, can Nick Petit-Frere, when he's in there, can they run the ball effectively on the right side? Is Nate Davis going to be back in there and ready to go by the time the regular season rolls around? There's a lot of questions to that regard in the run blocking game this year. I see people not necessarily writing Henry off, but I don't think there are very many around the league that expect him to be what he's been the last couple of years. Like I think as soon as he got that injury, people were looking around saying, man, that was it. He was on his way to another 2,000-yard season, and he's going to come back, and he'll be good, but he won't quite be the same. And I don't know. There's something about that guy that I just feel like he is going to be vintage Derrick Henry this year. Now, he could be vintage Derrick Henry from a health standpoint, from an ability standpoint, and maybe the holes aren't quite there as much or as often as they were with the offensive line when Saffold was in there. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on that front and what it necessarily translates to from a yardage standpoint, but I think around the league there's a hesitancy to a certain degree with Derrick Henry as to whether or not he's ever going to be the same player, and I'm presenting the case to you that maybe he is, and if he is, I think that means really good things for the Titans, certainly for their chances to win the AFC South this year.
Yeah, and the run blocking thing's really interesting. Roger Saffold is special, and Lewan and Saffold could be devastating. Now, Lewan and Aaron Brewer are both of them excited about their partnership in terms of athleticism and the ability to run and get out there and make things happen and get to the second level. And if that's good, if that's what they think it is, then I'm not saying it's just you're fine and you just replace Saffold. But I think Lewan not only was last year early on bad from a pass pro standpoint, but he wasn't the same guy as a run blocker either. Then you saw it come back, and you saw all of it come back. He was a much better player by the end of the year. But if he's that player, if he's good Taylor Lewan from the start, what does that mean? And honestly, I think with Quessenberry, I think with Radins potentially too, but also with Petit-Frere, I think you have a chance for better run blocking there.
Yeah.
The bigger question I have there is protection, but Petit-Frere he's a presence. He's very big, strong, physical. So I mean, he fits the mold of what you want in the right tackle in a offense that runs the football. So if they're, if that, it's those two spots, but from a run blocking perspective, it could be fine. And I mean, Derrick Henry's probably going to have if he is vintage Derrick Henry, he could have a good season behind a bad offensive line, but a lot of his success, he has had some good offensive line play too, and that's been a part of it without question.
Jeff from Mount Juliet on the text line says, we all want vintage Derrick Henry, but it depends on the line. We've seen his effectiveness early in his career when the line wasn't that good. See, I would push back on that. Like, I think early in his career, the line was not that bad. Like, I mean, DeMarco Murray was running left and right, had no problem running. Like, I think Derrick Henry is a different player, a significantly different player now than he was early in his career.
I would agree. I mean, I think the biggest reason why did the Titans go from 5-27 in the 2 years before John Robinson to a team that was on the verge of winning the division in 2016, John Robinson's first years? To me, it's because they brought in Ben Jones, because Taylor Lewan figured it out, and because they drafted Jack Conklin, number 8, and all of a sudden, you've got – they went from what? Well, I mean, 2015 – bottom 5 offensive line
just
in the NFL,
brutal, yeah,
easily, right? To honestly, especially from a run blocking perspective, because Conklin came right in and it was like, oh, he was a road grader. That's what he is. I mean, I think they were a top 10 offensive line from that perspective. Immediately, you flip the switch. Lewan figures it out. Ben Jones comes in. Conklin, and that's Derrick Henry's rookie year. So really, Derrick Henry has not played for the Tennessee Titans with a bad offensive line. Now, last year was the closest thing, but from a run blocking perspective, it was still a pretty good offensive line. Pass blocking, it wasn't. It was the worst of John Robinson's tenure. So, I would push back on that too. And his productivity early in his career is because he was a backup to DeMarco Murray, and then the well-chronicled 2018 season where he had to figure things out, and then he did, and my gosh, it's been a nightmare for defenses ever since.
Derrick Henry is the favorite for the AP NFL Comeback Player of the Year award this year, plus 400 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. He is slightly ahead of Jameis Winston at plus 500 and Christian McCaffrey at plus 800 as well. So Derrick Henry the favorite on that regard. Joe, we've talked about the Hall of Fame and kind of what that means and what he's got an opportunity to do this year from that perspective. There's another angle to this with Derrick Henry that I'm very interested to get your thoughts on as to how his Titans career is viewed that I want to get to next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
On Fox 17 Code Red, meteorologist Greg Bobus. Morning temperatures in the 70s. Scattered showers and storms weakening throughout this morning into the afternoon. Will dry out after lunchtime. Humidity decreasing as well. High temperatures for today in the upper 80s to near 90.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Oak Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton Fast Pass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fansville, where the refs are always wrong and Dr. Pepper is always right. Always. Where the mountains are capped with cooler ice and children learn the 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper before they learn the alphabet. Smart. It's the one place where a man is a 6 unless he's wearing face paint. He's a 10. And where fans deserve a Dr. Pepper no matter if they win or lose. But we're gonna win. Get ready for anything to happen this college football season on Fansville by Dr. Pepper. The one fans deserve. Grab some today.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, discussing the Titans and Derrick Henry. Throwing the question out there, what happens if Derrick Henry is vintage Derrick Henry this year? What does it mean for the Titans and their bottom line? Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, we've talked over the offseason about Derrick Henry and his pursuit for the Hall of Fame and all that stuff and the numbers that go along with that. And we'll see what happens this year on the field and what sort of numbers Derrick Henry is able to put up. I want to approach it from kind of a different angle, though. Just with the Titans and his Titans career, you could already make a pretty good argument that he's on the very, very, very short list of greatest Titans of all time. My question to you is, if he has another vintage-like Derrick Henry season, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean 2,000 yards, but, 15, 16, 1,700 yards, he's an all-pro type player once again. He's in the conversation for, offensive player of the year, maybe MVP, although with the quarterback play that I think we're going to get this year, I think that's going to be really difficult for anybody outside of a quarterback to achieve. If he does all that again, is he the greatest Titan of all time? Like, does he put himself in the conversation with McNair and George? Although I think he's already kind of there with Eddie George. Like, does he put himself in the conversation with Steve McNair as maybe the greatest Titan of all time if he does it again this year?
I think some of the answers to that question would be generational, right? Like, I feel like people who were of a certain age and were locked in on those teams back then would say, come on, man, like McNair, did you see that drive in the Super Bowl? Like, did you see what they did down in Jacksonville, just annihilating a team that only lost to them that year? He got that throw. He got him. He was a co-MVP with Peyton Manning a couple years later, 3 years later, right? So, but I think if you're a little bit younger, you would be like, yeah, he's right there. But I think it probably starts to boil down to those two, right? And there's a lot of other great players. And again, this is where, like, Bruce Matthews is
right.
Like, he's probably the greatest football player the organization's ever seen, right? But most of that work was done in Houston. So he was here. That's a tough one because, like, he was here for that stuff at the beginning. But I think the great play was by McNair here. I do think it's probably already kind of whittled down to McNair and Henry.
Yeah. Like
some people, I'd be interested if people disagree with that. If you disagree with that and say no, Keith Bulluck, man, or whoever. I mean, Derek Mason was freaking great. But it seems like it's headed that way. I mean, if Derrick Henry has what you just said, then it'll be hard at that point to look at the last few years and not put him right there in a two-man race.
Well, look, I think it's already there. Like I think it's already a two-man race, and people are going to have different thoughts on that. I understand that, but when you start listing off like greatest players in Titans history, I don't really know how you're putting anybody else over McNair and Derrick Henry. Eddie George was great. I think the highest level of what we've seen from Derrick Henry, he just kind of far supersedes Eddie George. Chris Johnson was great, and Chris Johnson was great for a couple of years, and he was electric, and there's no question about it. But I think even Derrick Henry and what we've seen from him doing it, winning 2 consecutive rushing titles, the way that he runs the ball. Just what a freak of nature he is. Like it to me, and I'm not saying that I'm just totally right here, but to me, it already is Steve McNair and Derrick Henry, and those are the two to me. I think if he has another year, it's difficult to compare these two for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's 2 different positions, and one's a quarterback and one's a running back, and there's always going to be the quarterback part of this that's hard to overcome. And number 2, I mean, it's a completely different era of football. So Derrick Henry, I think it's more impressive what he's doing right now because nobody else is really doing it. Jonathan Taylor did it last year, and it's kind of those 2 guys in the league right now, and nobody else is really all that close when it comes to the modern-day running back. So it's very difficult to compare it. I understand that. But I just think if he has another vintage season as Derrick Henry, to me, he's right there with McNair as the greatest Titan of all time. Like, you're talking about a pretty long stretch of him doing it at that point, and I don't know what it means for their postseason and what happens, and that's kind of a separate discussion too, because that's part of it when you start talking about greatest players in franchise history. What you do in the postseason matters, and that's another part of this, Joe. We talk about Tannehill in the postseason. Well, Derrick Henry's been essentially shut down in the postseason for 3 consecutive games. So I think it's important if they get back there this year for him to have a good game there as well. But if he's able to put a lot of that together, I think it's him and McNair, and you're getting pretty close to me saying he's the greatest Titan of all time.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to get in the weeds on this argument, you can you compare they each had one tremendous run, right? I mean, they each had one tremendous postseason run. One gets to within a yard of overtime in a Super Bowl. One gets to the AFC title game. You could actually, easily make the case because the Titans, that was a great team. McNair wasn't like electric for that whole run. It's actually incredible. He threw for 514 total yards in those 4 games.
Yeah.
It's very
just a different world back then. Yeah.
Yeah. And Eddie George, I mean, look, defense, Eddie George, special teams. I mean, it all came together for them. I mean, Derrick Henry was absolutely the best player in the field and dominated 2 straight football games. On the road as underdogs, and just an astounding run. Now, of course, you could flip it, and I actually want to go McNair's full playoff stats. He had 6 total touchdown passes and 11 picks in his entire playoff career with a 66.7 rating, So it wasn't exactly pretty. Now, look, the guy was a winner and a gamer, and he had huge moments. But, I mean, Derrick Henry, statistically, we've already gone through that. I mean, if they get in the playoffs this year and he does anything like that, he's going to be on the super short list of playoff runners.
Yeah.
Now you can flip it around. If you're going to argue if you're an old head like me, you want to argue for McNair, like, yeah, all these linebackers are a bunch of pass defenders. Eddie George is going up against, Ray Lewis. And
that is
true.
Guys,
I mean, like, different era also means advantage running back if a team actually wants to lean in on that, because defenses are built to defend the pass.
Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Adam in Portland, who wants to weigh in. Adam, thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robbie. Hey, Joe, man. So if you look at, I think Derrick Henry is absolutely the best Titan that's ever played. Top 5, I think Brett Kern's one of the best Titans ever to play. If you think of I don't want to jump around too much, but I've just been thinking about this too, because if you think of how bad the teams were, man, they were bad. Like I was an insatiable, suffering Titans fan for years, man. Bishop Sankey was my running back. They're doing commercials with Mark Mariani as do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, who's going to be our defensive captain? I can remember calling into the radio show and I'm like, who's our captain? And they're like, that's a stupid question. I'm like, that's not a stupid question. We have nothing. And so the culture's changed so much, but the one thing that was always good was Kern at least gave you a chance, because you would look up and the other team would have to start on the 3. So they're going to beat you, but maybe by less because they have to start on the 3. So I think he's one of the best Titans ever, man. I would put him in top 5. I'm just trying to think about it Bruce Matthews and those old heads, they're going to probably occupy at least 3 of those spots, and then Derrick Henry's my number 1. But I think Kern would probably fall right there, man.
Hey, thanks for the call, Adam. It's interesting, Joe, how people – you could ask 15 different people this question to fill out your top 5 Titans list, and you'll get a ton of different answers. McNair is going to be on pretty much everybody's list. I think Derrick Henry's gotten to the point where he's going to be on pretty much everybody's list. But after that,
I would hope so.
It's interesting. It's just – to me, it's clearly those two guys. And, look, I loved Eddie George growing up as a kid. Chris Johnson was awesome. Keith Bullock, Derek Mason. I mean, there's a bunch of different guys that were great players for a long time here. But the level that Derrick Henry's been at, and if he does it again this year, it's not even debatable to me. He's right there, I think, with Steve McNair. I think he is.
I agree. Kern as a top 5 Titan is a bit of a hot take. And I'm a punter awareness guy. You know that. That's
He's
a hot take.
Great player for a long time, man.
But yeah, look, the guy was tremendous, multiple Pro Bowls, long tenure. He goes back to Jeff Fisher. He's at least got to be in the discussion. That'd be a tough one. I think it's pretty clear, and it like you said, it will be more clear if Derrick Henry comes out and is doing it again this year of a top 2. A top 5 would be very difficult.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll continue this discussion a little bit later in the show. Coming up next, we'll get into some college football with Caroline Fenton. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Down, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Bundling home and car insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who?
They may drop little hints like,
Beautiful day out. Even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico.
or
Yard work is hard. Much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy.
it may be even subtler, like,
Speaking of burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved a bunch of money.
bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
This is Loyalty Lab Interview 6. Subject, grandmother's loyalty. Margie, what do you do when your grandson misbehaves?
Angels don't misbehave.
Here we study the most loyal, like you and... Oh, there goes the lamp.
Shouldn't have put it there.
Shell and the Fuel Rewards program has our members' backs, too. It's super easy to save on every gallon. Loyal, just like how you acted like that wasn't his fault.
Someone should clean that up before he gets hurt.
Yes! Loyal, just like that.
10 years of FR.com. Terms and conditions apply.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game,
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And as we do every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our good friend Caroline Fenton from Stillman & Company, also host of Southeastern Carolines as well. Caroline, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. How are y'all doing? Welcome back, Joe.
Joe, it's good to have you here. You there, Joe?
I think I just went Robo.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay. He's back in there.
Either Robo, Joe, or muted yourself, but either one is on my Joe Rexrode bingo card.
It really is. It's a bingo card. It's a bingo card full of love here on the program. So, Caroline, Vanderbilt totally destroys Hawaii in their season opening game. 63-10, the final score. They gave it was a rough start. They gave up a touchdown on their first drive against defensively, and then after that, they pretty much dominated from then on. What did that game and that win signal to you about Clark Lee and the direction that this football team is heading?
Well, first and foremost, to all the bettors out there who took the under, including myself, I think Clark Lee just totally dunked on us. So
yeah, he did.
That's $20 that I'll never see again. But I think it's a really good sign. Because you look back to Clark Lee's first year, and they get stomped by ETSU in the season opener. That didn't necessarily make you feel good about what the rest of the season had in store for Vanderbilt. And we were right. 2-win season for Vanderbilt last year. But I think this is a good sign. It's a good start for Vanderbilt on the season. And now my next question is, okay, what can you do next? Because Vanderbilt had a lot of success running the ball against Hawaii. And then whenever you get into the schedule against Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Kentucky and Tennessee, they're not going to let you run the ball that much. You're not going to put up 600 yards of offense against some of your SEC competitors. But I look at the over-under win total for Vanderbilt this year, and it's at 2.5. And I think if you took the over, you feel really good about that because I think that 2.5 really hinged on the Hawaii game. And though I look at the rest of Vanderbilt's non-conference schedule, I think they're able to win 2 out of the 3 of those, probably dropping that game against Wake Forest. I see a win against Elon being very possible, a win against Northern Illinois. And I think that a successful season for Vanderbilt for me is winning 3 out of 4 of those out-of-conference games. And can you pick up at least one conference win in there? I'm looking at either Missouri or South Carolina. Can Vanderbilt beat one of those teams? I mean, their defense has absolutely improved from last year. I'm looking at Anthony Orji, who was an absolute beast in that game against Hawaii. I think he'll continue to be throughout the rest of the season. But can they just pick up one more SEC win? And really, 4-win season for Clark Lee, I think you can look at that and say that's a success. Can they do it? I don't know. I think Mike Wright's going to have to be a little bit more dynamic in the passing game. I mean, when you put up 600 yards of offense and you don't have a single receiver with over 100 yards, that might make you a little bit concerned about what they can do in the passing game against some of these more stout defenses in the SEC. But if they can find some more success running the ball, and if they can be a little bit more successful on defense, I think that at least one SEC win isn't completely out of the question. So at least a good start for Clark Lee and company. But now what can you do against these SEC opponents? That's my next question.
Sticking with Vanderbilt, Caroline, big announcement yesterday that Vanderbilt Stadium is becoming First Bank Stadium. They sell the naming rights. It's going to be, Dudley Field, of course, is how Vanderbilt fans really think of that place. So Dudley Field at First Bank Stadium. So they join Michelle's Kmart special stadium.
Kroger Field.
That place is called.
It's so good.
Yeah. There you go. That's what it is. Yeah.
Get fired up.
I put this on Twitter to Vanderbilt fans and definitely had a couple traditionalists who didn't like it, but I feel like it's pretty overwhelming based on just one Twitter interaction support for this thing. I think it's like Vanderbilt has to do different kinds of stuff. What's your reaction to this?
I'm totally with you, Joe, because I think Vanderbilt's in a unique position that they're not necessarily having boosters or alumni bend over backwards to dish out a ton of cash to that football program. So you have to do it yourself. And while I'm a traditionalist as well, and, if my football team changed Tiger Stadium to, Trader Joe's Field, I'd probably be pretty upset about it because I'm a traditionalist and I look at it like, hey, LSU's got plenty of money coming in from boosters, coming in from alumni. Why do you need to break a tradition for something so sacred, to get in a little bit more cash? But Vanderbilt's in a different position that they're doing everything that they can to bring money in and to continue to be competitive in college football in the SEC. So I look at Vanderbilt and say, hey, if you can pick up money somewhere, do it. And I think it's a good thing for Vanderbilt. I totally agree with you, Joe.
Caroline Fenton on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So Caroline, Tennessee taking on Ball State coming up on Thursday. I mean, you're hoping, if you're a Tennessee fan, it's not an overly competitive game. But what are you most interested to see as Josh Heupel and company take the field in year 2 of this program coming up on Thursday?
Well, first of all, you just said it. You need to dominate Ball State. Because if you go out there and you put up 60 points against Ball State, good. That's what you're supposed to do. And that can make you feel so much better as a Tennessee fan going into that game at Pitt. But I think my biggest thing that I'm looking for is we know that connection between Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman is going to be a special one. But I think my thing is if I'm a defense, I'm going to be I'm putting 2 men on Cedric Tillman all day, every day. What I'm looking for is what does that connection between Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt look like? What does that connection between Cedric Tillman and Ramel Keaton look like? How can you spread the ball around a little bit more? Because we know this is going to be an electric offense. We know that Tennessee likes to spread the ball out. But it's also a fairly simple offense. And, the more and more that defenses get film on Tennessee, the more and more it's going to be easier to say, okay, well, I'm just going to put, Cedric Tillman in double coverage all day long. So how can Hendon Hooker build up more chemistry with some of these other receivers, and spread the ball around so it's not just all on Cedric Tillman because you don't have Javonte Payton anymore. So how is Hendon Hooker going to be able to build some of the chemistry with these other receivers? That's what I'm looking for first and foremost. Second of all, I'm looking for the defense. You're not going to have a ton of trouble stopping Ball State, but I want to see it in week 1. I want to see these corners be able to keep up with these Ball State wide receivers. I want to see the pass rush putting on some pressure on the quarterback because I think that's the biggest difference between Tennessee being a 7-win team and Tennessee being a 9-win team. You got to be more stout on defense. And, of course, this Josh Heupel offense affords Tennessee the ability to not be elite on defense. They can be average on defense and still probably win a good bit of games. But if Tennessee wants to take those leaps and bounds, like I know this fan base wants it to, and how I know a lot of the national media has been hyping it up to be going into this season, you got to at least make some progress on defense. So looking to see how Hendon Hooker is able to spread the ball around to some different receivers, and also how has his defense improved in the offseason.
All right, so Foghorn Leghorn down there wants to be all secretive about his QB situation, but I know you know, Caroline. I know you know. Who's starting for LSU?
I know nothing. It is a steel vault down there about who is going to win this quarterback battle. But he said something very telling yesterday in his press conference he said it's not going to be two different playbooks. It's not going to be a Jaden Daniels playbook, and it's not going to be a Garrett Nussmeier playbook. We're going to have one play sheet, and it's whichever quarterback can go in and best execute that. So I think you're going to see both quarterbacks a lot. If I had to pick a quarterback right now who I think is going to start against Florida State, I lean Jaden Daniels just because, Brian Kelly's telling you that the skill set is really not all that different, but Jaden Daniels has the advantage in the experience. Jaden Daniels has started 30 games in his college career. Garrett Nussmeier was a redshirt freshman last year. So being able to go out in the first game of the season and not have those first-game jitters, at least to the amount that Garrett Nussmeier probably would have, getting his first big-time collegiate start, I think that experience, the nod goes to Jaden Daniels. But, I think you're really going to see kind of a true two-quarterback system here, which is very strange because right around the spring game, Brian Kelly said, look, I've run two quarterback systems in the past, which he had at Notre Dame, and it didn't turn out very well. You look at the 2012 season, and Brian Kelly went 4-8 at Notre Dame running a true two-quarterback system, and he didn't want to do that, and now turns around and says, hey, we're going to have one play sheet, and two quarterbacks are going to be able to fit into it. I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but, you for sure feel good about having two solid quarterbacks that know your system, that can run the plays, that can go in there and can execute. I just worry about the consistency of this offense having two quarterbacks, and I worry about how the rest of this offense is able to get acclimated and have an identity in this offense. The offensive line being able to kind of learn the ticks of the quarterback. You don't get that whenever you're constantly rotating the quarterbacks in and out. So I worry about that a little bit, but I do think that Jaden Daniels will be named the starter, but I think you're going to see both of them, not just against Florida State, but throughout the season as well.
Caroline, last thing here for you. So to that point, there are three games that jump out to me this weekend in the SEC. Georgia taking on Oregon at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Cincinnati and Arkansas in Fayetteville, and then LSU, Florida State as well. By the way, shout out to the SEC. Two of those are neutral site games. LSU's in New Orleans and Georgia's in Atlanta, so shout out to that. That's good stuff. But of those three games, real neutral what's going on down there. But of those three, which game intrigues you the most this weekend?
That's a good question, and all three are very intriguing. I think I look to Oregon, Georgia, just because Oregon has yet to name a starting quarterback. I probably would lean Bo Nix being your starting quarterback just because that offensive play caller at Oregon, he was the offensive coordinator his freshman year at Auburn. So Bo Nix is at least familiar with this offensive system. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this new era at Oregon starts to settle in, and also to see how Georgia is able to bridge that 2021 team to the 2022 team, losing 15 players to the draft. I think that I would expect at least a bit of a step back just because it's not easy to reload every single year. Alabama's obviously proven that they can do it, but that's the exact thing that I'm looking for at Georgia. Is it a reload year or is it a rebuild year? And I think you're going to start to see that in this game against Oregon. But you named those three games. I think the game that's really intriguing is Utah at Florida. And I would not be surprised to see Utah stomp all over Florida. And I think it's going to be kind of a rude awakening for Florida fans. I think Florida fans are going to look at Billy Napier and say, how the heck are you going to win a season opener? Utah's a damn good team. Utah's my favorite to win that conference. But I think that's going to be a really interesting game is Utah at Florida. That's going to be really tough competition for Florida right out of the gate because I see Oregon, Georgia. That's going to be a tough game, but I think Georgia's going to win that game. I see Cincinnati, Arkansas. That's going to be a tough game, but Cincinnati reloading their offensive coordinator, reloading the quarterback, and reloading 6 defensive players, including a first-round pick in Sauce Gardner in the cornerback position. I think Arkansas is going to win that game. Florida State LSU is interesting because you have the 2 head coaching situations of one is trying to kind of write his legacy at one school, and one school in Mike Norvell at Florida State is trying to keep his job. So you've got an interesting dynamic there. But I think Utah-Florida is going to be really interesting, and Billy Napier gets 0 cupcake coming into his first year at Florida. So it's going to be a very rude awakening. But I think those 4 games are going to be interesting, but with Utah being, I think, the toughest competition of all 4 of them.
It's awesome to have college football back. We've made it. Week 1 is here. Caroline, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
Football is back. I'm ready for it. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Caroline Fenton, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock. Obviously, you can catch her on Stillman and Company as well every day from 2 to 6 here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll continue the discussion on college football. Tennessee taking the field on Thursday night. How bought in are Tennessee fans with the regime that Josh Heupel has put together thus far? We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim. ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
How that team is built, I think there's a lot to like about them.
Every Tuesday at noon, Tim with Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Presented by Red Spirit and Wine in Bellevue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Folks, Joe Rexrode here, inviting you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week one. Just place a $5 bet. You can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. You can go same game parlay, live betting, all kinds of odds boosts. You can go national championship futures. I know this week the big game, Tennessee, Ball State. I would go ahead and give those points and go with the Vols. I think they're going to roll and put up a lot of points in that game. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. See for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app, sign up today with promo code Joe102. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the football season. Again, the FanDuel Sportsbook app, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Vanderbilt fans, your flagship home for the broadcast of football and men's basketball is 93.3 Classic Hits. For the weekly Commodore Hour show featuring head coach Clark Lee, tune in to 94.9 The Fan on Monday nights at 6 p.m.
Papa Roach. Falling in reverse. The Rockzilla Tour with very special guests, Hollywood Undead and Bad Wolves. This Wednesday, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Papa Roach. Falling in reverse. On sale now at livenation.com.
Throughout the country, buried pipelines are indicated by a pipeline right-of-way. A long, wide stretch of grass cleared of trees and marked with signs. If you have a right-of-way near your home, do not plant anything in it or dig in it. Do not install a fence or build your kids a super cool fort without first getting the pipeline operator's approval. For more on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or refinish the old one that you got. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months same as cash financing and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate. Or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I got a family 4-pack of tickets to give away and 2 unlimited ride wristbands as well to the Nashville Fair. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The Nashville Fair will be at the Nashville Fairgrounds Friday, September 9th through Sunday, September 18th. There'll be rides, agriculture, livestock, arts, competitions, and, of course, fair food as well, including hot chicken on a stick and deep-fried goo-goo clusters as well. Caller number 3, 615-737-1025 will win a family 4-pack of tickets and 2 unlimited ride wristbands as well to the Nashville Fair. Thanks to Caroline Fenton for joining us in the last segment. Joe, before we get into the Vols, I do want to get your thoughts on some quick breaking news in the NFL. O.J. Howard has been released from the Buffalo Bills. So you talk about a guy that I was pretty sure was going to make it in the NFL. It's been a struggle for O.J. Howard thus far in his career. Has not quite lived up to what I thought he would be.
Oh, I thought he was going to be a star in the NFL. So, but look, it's been pretty consistently disappointing from him. And, this even happens to former Alabama players. It's surprising because I feel like he has all the tools.
Yeah, it's mystifying to me with how good he was in college and just the physical tools that he brings to the table. Just kind of how unproductive and underwhelming he's been thus far in his career. But we'll see where O.J. Howard lands now that he has been released by the Buffalo Bills in training camp. Joe, the Vols taking the field coming up on Thursday against Ball State. Josh Heupel speaking yesterday. He's excited, ready to go. Feels like his football team is ready to play against Ball State coming up on Thursday. And my question for Tennessee fans is, how bought in are you to Josh Heupel and the program that he's building up in Tennessee? There seems to be a pretty good demand for tickets. The students seem to be pretty excited. They go 7-6 last year, so it's not like they lit the world on fire from a record perspective, but I think it's pretty clear they were better than most people thought they would be a year ago. With expectations and this offense heading into year 2, how bought in are Tennessee fans? I think it's an interesting question, and the sense I get, Joe, is people are pretty bought in to Josh Heupel and company heading into year 2. Now, I don't think that too many Tennessee fans are talking about, winning an SEC title or anything this year, but Josh Heupel, from both on the field, where I think there were a lot of encouraging signs last year, but also in recruiting, things are going really, really well for this Tennessee football program right now, and we'll see how that translates to the field starting on Thursday night against Ball State.
Yeah. I'm having some issues here. That is without question. So I missed most of that. But as far as buy-in,
yeah,
if I'm coming through right now,
you are.
Yeah. I would hope that Vols fans like is there a little bit more reluctance each time? Because I think they should be bought into liking what they're seeing. But I feel like there's this urge to go immediately, like put the pedal on the floor, and when is Atlanta happening, right? Whereas when each time you have to do this with a coaching change, it makes it a little bit harder to come back. Now, granted, if you find an incredible coach, Alabama went through all those years, and then, by year 2, Saban had things rolling.
Yeah.
So, if you find that coach, okay, then they can snap your fingers and come back. But I feel like Vols fans so badly want each of these coaches to be that coach. And I think you should just kind of enjoy good success early, and also a guy who's not just a total freakazoid, who just a total wacko personality. That's one thing I like about Heupel. I feel like he's got the right demeanor to handle that entire situation. There are a lot of big crazy fan bases out there, big pressure schools, money, tradition, and there's a lot that goes with it. I don't know that there's a job exactly like Tennessee out there.
Well, from Heupel, and look, I'm basing it on 1 year of body of work so far, so I'm always careful and hesitant before you commit too much one way or the other. But it feels like to me, just from watching Heupel on the field, but also listening to him and the way that he talks, there's a symmetry, a connection there between system and on the field competence that I just feel really good about with him. It feels like he knows what he's doing out there. The system, I think, is a modern offensive football system as opposed to that last year of Jeremy Pruitt ball whereas like they were playing back in 1968. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like the dramatic difference in not only the production, but just the way the offense looked from Pruitt's last year to Heupel's first year is unbelievable. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like it. So that combination of the system that he's running, but also like the game day competence. Like, he's not perfect out there. He makes mistakes. You know, there were some clock management issues that I had a problem with last year with Heupel at different times. But for the most part, we talked about this with Vanderbilt the other day. It felt like they knew what they were doing out there. Like, every time Tennessee takes the field with Josh Heupel, it feels like they know what they're doing. Like, they've got a plan. And I'm not saying that plan's always going to work, and there are going to be times this year where they're outmatched and, you know, they're going to lose some games. But I feel really, really good about Heupel from that perspective of he's got a plan. It looks like he knows what he's doing. And game day, I thought he was really good last year in terms of adjustments and everything that goes with it. So the early returns on Heupel to me are really, really good. Now, how do you handle a little bit of expectation this year if you're that team with the offense that we think they're going to have?
Yeah, well, I agree with all that. You know, Caroline brings up an interesting point last segment, and I think it's valid and fair. This system, defense is getting more accustomed to it and all that. I mean, one thing Alex Golish told me in the offseason was like he looks at it differently. For any team that's actually played against them, he looks at that matchup differently because you can't prepare by film. You can try to copy and practice, but it's not the same. But I gotta say, I just feel like Heupel's also, well, and remember, Golish is the play caller, but Heupel, Golish, it's a partnership, and I feel like they're just really good at devising plans, play calling, setting things up. And I don't think it's going to be this thing where all of a sudden they get figured out and, well, sorry, guys. You know, you're still going to have those 3 and outs. The drive lasted 7 seconds. Yeah. And all of a sudden you look up at the end of the game, your defense is on the field for 42 minutes. I mean, there's some drawbacks to this, but I mean, for the most part, I think you're going to overwhelm teams that don't have your talent level, and it gives you a chance, you know, to hang at times with teams that are at a much higher level. And look, if things keep going the way they are, but you got to stack and stack and stack, and you got to hang in there and keep having success. A few years from now, that talent gap should be closed a bit.
Bellevue Billy on the text line says Tennessee could be coached by a sack of bricks, and Vol fans would still be bought in before week 1. This is from Bellevue Billy on the text line.
Yes, Billy.
A sack of bricks.
They want to believe, Billy. That might be a little bit much.
A sack of bricks. Bo from Murfreesboro on the text line says, what most are overlooking, in my opinion, Tennessee's offense is predicated on a solid running game. They throw the ball a lot, but successfully moving the ball on the ground is what makes that offense go. It's pretty easy to see that if you look at Heupel's offenses wherever he's been. If they can run the ball, they'll score a ton of points. It's coming from Bo from Murfreesboro.
No, that's a good point. Look, I mean, they absolutely love balance, and it's tough on a defense when you've got the goods to run the football to go with the tempo, right? I mean, how many big runs last year happened because of a defense not being aligned? I mean, Missouri was like, they had like 7 guys on the field. I don't know what the hell was happening in that game, but it was just like touchdown for Jabari Ball, hey, touchdown for Tyon Evans, yay! I mean, like, it's a problem when you can run the ball, and they absolutely. I think you're right that people don't talk about that enough.
We'll continue the conversation on the Vols. Got a couple more of your thoughts to get to on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll also get to some very interesting news in the NFL yesterday as well. All that ahead. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the hat.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
If you missed the latest on Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Real quick, I have to correct us because people are yelling at us.
About the draft pick.
Yeah, some are saying that we need to know our facts. So, Duke of Earl, we know our facts. Okay, 4 hours a day.
Should we need to play, do we need to, in this guy's honor, do we need to play Duke of Earl?
Play Duke of Earl. You come do this 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Let's see how you do it. Twitter warrior. But it is a conditional draft pick.
So they'll get the pick back.
So they get the pick back.
Okay, that makes more sense.
by cutting.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was conditional on him making it.
Sorry, Duke. Sorry, bro.
Hey, we can't get everything right, man.
Sometimes stuff slips into the cracks.
Exactly.
It's a 4-hour show.
I know.
Know your facts.
I'm sure.
Conditional pick.
I'm sure at your job some things slip through the cracks too. You know, hey.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the Endless Summer Sale, August 26th through September 5th, and get 30% off paints and stains with prices starting at $29.39. That means 30% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 30% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Somebody company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
They say, oh my God, I see the way you shine.
Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 7:05 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds are at home at First Horizon Park, taking on the Memphis Redbirds, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up at 7:45. Looking forward to that. Got something that's irking me, and I'm ready to get it off my chest. So looking forward to that coming up here in just a few minutes. Right now, I'm talking Vols. So, Josh Heupel did speak yesterday. Brew McCoy, as we talked about yesterday on the show, is eligible and ready to go. And I thought it was interesting. He said, Heupel doesn't offer up a lot in his press conferences. One thing he was raving about Brew McCoy yesterday and said, yeah, you're going to see him run around the field a lot on the field coming up on Thursday. Like, it feels like Josh Heupel is pretty excited about Brew McCoy and what he's going to bring to this offense. We know about Cedric Tillman, and there's been a lot of off-season chatter about Jalen Hyatt, and I think they're going to use more receivers this year than they did a year ago. I think they feel pretty good about their receiving room. But Heupel sounds like he's fired up about Brew McCoy and what he can bring to the table for this team.
Yeah, and I think that's also a little bit of a reflection on the young guys who aren't quite ready yet.
Yep.
Think about last year, early in the season. I still remember, the Bowling Green game, the Pittsburgh game. It's like, wow, Cedric Tillman. Oh, there's Cedric Tillman
I know.
again. It took a while, and then you finally realize, yeah, man, like that guy's legit now. But how many big plays did Javonte Payton and Velus Jones also have? And as Tillman kind of became clear wide receiver one, those guys also did a lot. And of course, it was like Jalen Hyatt wasn't ready last year or didn't transition well to the offense. And it just shapes up to me like with McCoy active, they feel like it's that trio that's really going to get a bulk of the work. Tillman, Hyatt, McCoy. And I think you're still going to see some Callaway sprinkled in, some Squirrel White maybe sprinkled in here and there. They're going to try to get some guys a ball. But
Keaton sprinkled in a little bit too, yeah.
What's that?
Ramel Keaton sprinkled in a little bit too, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have a veteran like him, but that offense is it's like you want depth. You figure like it makes sense that you'd want depth because it's like, man, running that tempo and you just ran a go route and now you're busting your butt back and you got to run another but it's also the speed that it goes and the precision required. Like how many receivers do you realistically trust in a given season? And if the same guys are getting all the reps, like those guys, you want them to play a dominant number of snaps. So like in the Pittsburgh game, I bet you those three guys, like, Thursday night, we're going to see a bunch of people.
Yeah.
We're going to see Joe Milton. And yes, we already have jokes in the text line about 1.5 is the over-under on his overthrows. Thank you. I think that was JC. But like the Pittsburgh game, I bet you those three receivers are dominant in terms of their presence on the field. And that's a heck of a physical tandem on the outside with McCoy and Tillman, with Hyatt in the slot. McCoy and Tillman they look like linebackers playing receiver.
Yeah, I mean, they're really physical guys. I mean, Tillman's huge. And, he's always had the size. And last year he put it together. I mean, I legitimately thought in the first half of that Purdue game in the Music City Bowl, I was like, Cedric Tillman is going to have about 575 yards receiving in this game. And he was really, really good. I've got high expectations for him heading in this year. I'm interested to see he's hyping up Brew McCoy. So I'm interested to see what he looks like coming up on Thursday in that game against Ball State. We are just a couple of days away now from Tennessee kicking things off on Thursday night at Neyland Stadium. Joe, some interesting news yesterday in the NFL. We've talked a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo and where he was going to end up this offseason, and looks like he's staying put. The 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo reworking his contract yesterday, and they restructured it to a one-year contract that's worth $6.5 million in fully guaranteed base salary. And basically what this means is it's got playtime bonuses in there that could boost up another $9 million or so for a total of $16 million, but it's going to give him freedom the next year, and he can explore unrestricted free agency in 2023. So it appears that John Lynch and the 49ers not able to find a deal for anyone to take Jimmy Garoppolo. So now they have restructured his contract, and he is going to be the backup quarterback, and he will be in San Francisco this year. It looks like there's a no trade and a no tag clause as well. So he's going to be there. He's going to be the backup quarterback, and now I guess he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. We'll see what happens on the Jimmy G front, but I thought a really interesting development there. They've gone from trying to trade him to now, I guess, giving up on that, and he's going to be the backup quarterback to Trey Lance this year.
Yeah, as our Niners writer David Lombardi at The Athletic pointed out, there's a no trade, but that doesn't mean that, it basically means that they're going to have to work together on something, so basically he's going to obviously have a say in going somewhere or not, but Lombardi expects them to continue to pursue a trade. And look, I mean, Jimmy G, the market for him wasn't what some people thought. I guess I'm a bit surprised too. I figured he'd be somewhere. It's not the worst thing for the Niners. You can make this work. A lot of people would love to have a backup quarterback of that quality. And this is a team that could go to the Super Bowl. So it won't necessarily be derailed if you do have a Trey Lance injury. And look, there's also the chance that Trey Lance isn't as good as they think. I mean, we still have to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, he had some flashes in the preseason where he's got a huge arm. I think they're going to try to go vertical in that offense a little bit more with Trey Lance than they did with Jimmy G. But the fact of the matter is, and we were, I heard some people talking about this yesterday, Jimmy G is still a good quarterback. Now, he's not elite, and I think there are questions as to whether or not you can win a Super Bowl with him, but he has gotten to a Super Bowl. Probably should have won that Super Bowl, and he got to an NFC title game last year with him as the quarterback. Now, I think Kyle Shanahan is a great coach. I think he's really good at what he does. The running game with him, with not even really having elite running backs, he is an unbelievable play designer, and he gets that running game going. So I think they're in great shape with Kyle Shanahan as long as he's the head coach. But like Jimmy G is still a decent to good quarterback in this league. So I'm surprised that nothing happened. I do wonder, number one, the price tag, but number two, coming off the shoulder surgery, how much hesitation there was there from teams around the league. But it seems like he's healthy and he's good to go. So, things can change quickly. Somebody might get hurt in week one, and maybe you're dealing with a different situation. I do wonder, though, like if you're Trey Lance, does it bother you at all that he's still kind of there in the background as the former starting quarterback? And I wonder how he views that heading into this year.
I'd say if Trey Lance and Jimmy G truly have this great relationship that they always talked about, like that all quarterbacks talk about, then it shouldn't bother them at all. I mean, they've made it clear. They chose him. They invested all these picks in getting him. They've made it clear they didn't want Jimmy G around anymore. And now they're like, well, all right, we'll keep you around. I mean, if Trey Lance is bothered by that, then I worry about Trey Lance, being a successful starter in this league.
Do we think that Jimmy G has come into contact with any of his coaches in the last 2 weeks? Like has he talked to people in the front office? Because that was a problem apparently at one point. Got his new deal and just went MIA.
He's ghosting them.
Yeah.
Just muted and blocked everybody. I mean, the thing is, like, that story, it's kind of like this Kyler Murray thing, which is just a fertile ground for jokes. But it's also like, I mean, it is going to be really interesting to see what that does for him, to him, them, that relates. I feel like that story about Jimmy G is really damaging. And it should be. If he really did that, I mean, if I'm a GM out there, I'm like, well, first of all, he's already kind of a fringe talent and he throws bad picks and they've won a lot of games with him being okay. Yeah. And then he does crap like that. Nah, I'm good. I mean, that had to be a factor, I think, in the lack of interest.
Well, I think there's a good chance that it was. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Is he ultimately moved this year, or is he just going to sit there as the backup all year long and kind of bide his time until free agency? We'll see what happens on the Jimmy G front. Coming up next, it's time for the Rob Rant, our rant of the day. Looking forward to your participation as well on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 MAC-level quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Regal Realty Group on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
On Fox 17 Code Red, meteorologist Greg Pope. This morning, temperatures in the 70s. Scattered showers and storms weakening throughout this morning into the afternoon. Will dry out after lunchtime. Humidity decreasing as well. High temperatures for today in the upper 80s to near 90.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Save big this Labor Day at Electronic Express. Get a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for only $599 or an LG laundry pair for $599 each. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on a Microsoft Surface Pro 8 bundle for just $899 or an Xbox Series S bundle for only $379. Shop in-store or online with up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Golfers, tee it up this year at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Callaway. Featuring the new Rogue ST drivers, Callaway's most stable driver ever, with tungsten speed cartridge, jailbreak speed frame, and AI flash face. Engineered for max speed and forgiveness. 4 different models to fit every golfer's needs. Think speed? Go Rogue. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit for the new Rogue ST drivers today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, is observing a significant milestone this month. Our founder, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 50th year as president. Joining Bud with anniversaries of their own are Max Hurst and Scott Meyer with 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and Ryan Burke in our sales department is also celebrating 1 year with us. From 1 year to 50 years, Cromwell Media is a great place to work, and you're invited to join us. Send an email to together@cromwellmedia.com and tell us about yourself. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
This is Loyalty Lab Interview 6. Subject, grandmother's loyalty. Margie, what do you do when your grandson misbehaves?
Angels don't misbehave.
Here we study the most loyal, like you and... Oh, there goes the lamp.
Shouldn't have put it there.
Shell and the Fuel Rewards program has our members' backs, too. It's super easy to save on every gallon. Loyal, just like how you acted like that wasn't his fault.
Someone should clean that up before he gets hurt.
Yes, loyal, just like that.
10 years of FR.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, like how they require minimums or force you to use your rewards before reaching some arbitrary expiration date. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount, at any time, so you'll never have to jump through hoops. Unless you're like a trapezist, then by all means, go right ahead. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. Our daily rants at 7:45. I am hijacking it today. It is not the Rex Rant. It is Rob Rant today. Looking forward to that. Joe, I think I've gone down a similar rabbit hole before as it relates to the world of adult league softball. But I'm going to go down that rabbit hole again. I was playing last week, and it is interesting. So as a pitcher in high school, you used to kind of just feel like if things were going poorly and you're getting shelled out there, that you're like directly responsible for losing the game. It's really not that way in softball. All I'm doing is lobbing that thing up there, and they're crushing the ball left and right. You're supposed to hit it, so I don't really feel bad about it all that much. And we're out there last week, and our team's decent. We've got some good players, but the team that we were playing against, they got some people that like to play in tournaments and on the weekends and all that stuff, and I don't have time for all that nonsense, so congratulations to those who do. But these people are very good at softball, and they were destroying us last week, which is fine. I used to get upset about those things. I don't really care anymore. But I'm out there on the mound, and the score's like, I don't know, it's like 17-8. I mean, we're just getting crushed in the game. And there's this one guy. He gets up there, and this is every time he gets up to bat, which, by the way, he got up to bat a lot. He probably hit about 15 times in the 2 games that we were up there because they were just crushing the ball left and right. And the people that think that they're like Nomar Garciaparra before they get in the box, where they've got you hold time for the umpire, you're kicking dirt left and right, you put 1 foot in the box, you're putting your batting gloves on, taking them off, putting them back on, finally stepping in the box, taking 2 practice swings and getting in there, and all of a sudden a minute and 25 seconds have gone by, and you're finally ready to hit the ball. At one point, I'm standing on the mound, and I'm just looking at him like, hey, get in the box. What are you doing? Why is this some sort of like vacation you're taking every time before you get in the box? Just step in there. It's no different from like the guy that shows up for pickup basketball, and you've got the socks pulled up to the knees, the headbands on. You got to go through like 6 rounds of stretching before you get out there. Either get in there and get ready to play or don't. But these people who think that they're like professional athletes getting in there ready to play these pickup sports drive me nuts. And softball, I think, might be the worst. Like there have been like Facebook videos made of softball guy, and there's different ways you can go about doing this thing. But the ability to just get in the batter's box and get ready to hit. I don't know why this has to be like some Broadway production in there. Get in the box, get in your batting stance, and get ready to hit the ball that's coming in at approximately 17 miles an hour. That is my rant for the day. It's not that difficult.
Oh, man, that's a good one. Yeah, look, there's some softball players who like they have their same routine, I guess. That's what someone would probably say. Well, it's like the routine I had all through growing up in baseball, and so I go. But you know what? It's like, man, you just get it. It's freaking softball. Come on.
Well, like why do you have to kick dirt? Like you're kicking dirt left and right. I know you're trying to get yourself as your cleats in there and get as gripped up as you can get. But every time before you step in the box, you got to kick some dirt around. Just step in the box, man.
Now, I will push back on you a little bit. I'm totally with you in general on I mean, I've probably been that guy.
Yes, Joe, in basketball.
Yeah. But on the one thing about basketball I will push back on is if I don't stretch like a mother, that groin is getting pulled on the first time I go get a rebound. So, you gotta,
look, I don't mind stretching, but like stop and play every now. By the way, let me stretch out this quad real quick while you're in the middle of the fast break. Let me call time. Just get in there, man. Get in there and play or don't.
Yeah. I mean, but that's older people. You gotta think about stuff like that. The stuff you're talking about in the box, and I think you're right that like the professional softball players. It just gets so serious. And look, I'm blown away by how good some people are at softball. But then sometimes I'm like, God, why do you want to be that good at softball? Like, I love softball. I miss playing softball. It's fun.
Yeah.
But like, dude, if you're that good at softball, like, are you sure that it's worth the time that you spent to get that good at softball?
It is unbelievable to me. And look, I'm not trying to throw shade. If this is something that you do, more power to you. I don't know how people have time to do it, but there are people that are grown adults that go play in softball tournaments around the country every weekend. Like a couple of guys that we were playing against last week, they were getting swings in. They played like 5 times that week, and they were playing against us to get some swings in because they were going that weekend to play in a tournament in Panama City, Florida. And I'm just like, how do you all have time and or money to do all this all the time? To just be 33 years old and flying around the country playing softball. Like I'm not mad at you. Good for you. I don't get it. I don't know how you have time to do it.
Ryan from Chicago, aka Michelle's boyfriend.
Oh gosh.
Says Rexrode throwing shit at Rexrode, talking about the pickup guy with sweatbands and tube socks. I don't have either one of those things, by the way.
You just wish you had them.
Dimes to you, Ryan. How many laughs did you get off my dimes, Ryan? That hurts, man. This also brings up another thing, Robbie. My brother-in-law played college soccer at Georgia Mason. He's like a dude. He's like a all rocked up workout dude. Okay, yeah. Love the guy, but he playing these flag football leagues just a few years ago and got like his jaw broken. He had to have like facial reconstruction. Like, it was like, dude, it is not worth it. Like this flag football with grown men beating the crap out of each other.
Like when Joe
there's that
threw a pass off my forehead.
There was that.
I wasn't trying to. I was trying to,
He no-looked me. He tried to Magic Johnson it. I was not ready for that.
I mean, apparently it was a good pass. Went on target.
The dimes are going to drop, you just got to be ready for them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's always you can find them in every sport, though. Like there's the rec league hockey player where it's not supposed to be any contact whatsoever, and they're out there like throwing their shoulder into you when you're on the boards. You're like, dude, I will take this stick and hit you over the back of the head with it. I will go to jail for this. Stop. You know, there's the softball I feel like is probably the worst, although, you know, there's the pickup basketball guy that always takes it too far too. You can find them in anything. I just feel like the softball player that thinks that he's, you know, Ted Williams or Mike Trout out there stepping in the box and taking 15 minutes to go hit the ball. When it's one pitch, you're lofting it up there. You should be – I mean, these guys can put it wherever they want to put it anyway. Right field, left field, over the fence, doesn't matter. Just get in the box and hit it. That's all I'm asking for.
I think it's a totally fair request. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, if I was there watching, I would find it to be funny. But if I was you on the mound, it would get annoying very quickly.
Yeah. I got a texter that says, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and the softball scene in New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia in the late 90s, early 2000s was just absolutely insane. There were a team of guys that were 6'5" and bigger, roided out of their minds, and playing in this weekly tournaments to make six figures a year playing softball. It's insane. And as a baseball guy, I'd come over there, and I attempted it one weekend, and I literally just walked off the field. There's no rhyme or reason to the game. You just have some monster to hit a home run. They didn't even have to run anymore. And then you have to a pitcher with a suicide wish because one line drive up the middle, and he's dead. That's the other thing. Like, the only thing I'm worried about up there on the mound is, like, please don't hit this back at my face. Please don't hit this back at my face. And I will say, I do feel better about playing like the really good teams then because they have a little bit more control over where they put it. But I will tell you, there have been a few times when I'm pitching that I've just gotten absolutely smoked out there with a line drive back up the middle. It's not fun.
6 figures a year playing softball?
Oh, yeah, man. Some people, it's all they do. Like, they just play in tournaments all the time. Softball tournament.
Did we miss our calling?
Oh, we're not good enough.
I mean, if I knew that, poured everything into it. My goodness.
Keith on the text line says, have you ever driven through Franklin on a Saturday morning? It's like there are 50 Lance Armstrongs out there in the Tour de Franklin. It's Franklin, Williamson County, like the cyclist capital of Tennessee.
There's a lot of biking. There's a lot of biking that goes on. No doubt about that. Big E just says fake bean him with the softball.
Maybe so.
Just come with a
high heater.
Come with the speed. Yeah, with a rise ball up to the chin.
If I could throw a rise ball, maybe something I'd try to do at some point. Viking Matt on the text line says, what's wrong with sacrificing a live chicken before every game? See, people take things seriously. People are out there. I feel like softball, I think, is the worst. I think it's the worst in terms of this sort of behavior from what I've seen. Adult league softball.
Yeah, it's incredible how good people get at it, how serious they get. But again, I didn't realize you could make that kind of money. I'm like rethinking my entire life now.
Chad from Chattanooga on the text line says, nothing worse than, quote, baseball guys not good enough to make the baseball team in their full uniform playing college intramural softball. I couldn't eye roll emoji hard enough. This is coming from Chad from Chattanooga on the text line. I feel like we've hit a spot here on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
See, some of us in college played on a softball team called Leb's Patch, named after a patch of hair on my buddy's back, and had the ass outfield. We just had fun.
A legendary story here on Robby and Rexrode. This has been the Rob Rant. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled Rex Rant tomorrow at 7:45 as well. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Teresa Walker from the Associated Press. We'll get her thoughts on the Titans. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk The Game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or replenish the old one that you've got. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months same as cash financing and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate. Or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, like how they require minimums or force you to use your rewards before reaching some arbitrary expiration date. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount, at any time. So you'll never have to jump through hoops. Unless you're like a trapezist, then by all means, go right ahead. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our good friend Teresa Walker from the Associated Press. Teresa, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. I swear, I don't know how you guys do this every single morning. This getting up early stuff, it's not easy.
So it's really just all about mental and physical toughness, and we've, as you know, Rexrode and I have that in abundance, just in abundance.
Well, God bless you, because I've been awake for an hour and I am in massive need of caffeine.
Oh yeah, no question about it. So Teresa, obviously a big day for the Titans yesterday. The end of an era with Brett Kern being released. Ryan Stonehouse will be the punter for the Titans moving forward. What did you think of the move, and in your mind, what is the legacy of Brett Kern here in Nashville?
Well, Brett's legacy is just stunning, because let's not forget, for many years, particularly in those 2 seasons where they went 5 and 27 combined, he was their MVP. He was the guy who kept it from being worse. And and then let's face it, 3 Pro Bowls and first time. Yeah, and I know I've seen a couple references to him being a 2-time All-Pro. AP does the All-Pro team, and on our All-Pro team, you got to be on the first team. The second team, well, that's nice, But no. It only truly counts if you make the first team. And he did that once. And what he did, he's 4 punts away from being just the 25th punter in NFL history to punt 1,000 times. I mean, that's just stunning. And then the fact that, yes, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and what he did for this team, it was automatic. You know, when he went to punt, you didn't really watch because you knew it was going to be either, it was going to be downed. It wasn't really going to be returnable. He was just a massive weapon for this team on special teams, helping pin a team as deep as possible to set the defense up and give them a chance to, flip, that whole flip the field. Well, he did that completely, and he took dangerous returners out of the game by simply not giving them a chance with the way he could, directionally punt the ball. But time marches on, and Ryan Stonehouse, the first, and Brett told reporters on Saturday night after the game that he knew this was a competition in April, the first time he saw Stonehouse punt. And if you heard him at practice, and I know it's tough for fans because of the construction and everything, it's a real tight kind of layout over there. Not a ton of people got out there this year, but if you watched him in pre-ups or something like that, you can hear the difference off of the leg. Brett Kern said 3 or 4 guys that he's seen in his life with that kind of leg. Ryan Stonehouse has one of those. It's power. We saw it on display Saturday night with the 64-yarder, right? And then the more important thing, we saw some touch. He had one that's 38. It's not going to light up the, Twitter and get everyone excited, but he had a 38-yarder that was out of bounds at the 10. That means inside the 20. That's what you're shooting for as a punter. And then, he, 2 weeks ago, he was, I think it was 2 weeks ago yesterday, he started holding for Randy Bullock on field goal attempts. And it was a rough start that day for Randy Bullock, but the GM was watching a few feet behind there. And guess who handled all of those extra point and field goal attempts on Saturday night? It was Stonehouse, and it went smoothly because, Bullock had a couple of 50-yarders. And, that, when I saw that he handled all the job on Saturday night and did it well, that's when I knew that this competition was over.
Yeah, now that you mention it, Teresa, I wonder if Kern's 1,000th punt might be against the time. I mean, the Bills' offense is so good, might not be till week 2 against the Titans on Monday Night Football. And of course, I'm just assuming he ends up with back in his hometown. But I wanted to ask you about quarterback. What do you think that depth chart looks like today when the final 53 is due at 3:00?
Joe, I've got Malik Willis as the 2. I mean, and then see if you can get Woodside on the practice squad. And, at the start of the training camp, it was like, we were all thinking kind of that they'd hold on to 3 because, didn't think they would be able to sneak Logan Woodside onto the practice squad. Guess what? At this point, it was a difference. You could see the difference, particularly in games. Now, granted, Logan Woodside asterisk, he's playing with, second and third teamers in front of him, but there were picks. And when you watch him in practice, Malik Willis throws a better ball. There's more oomph on it, there's more spin, and he's just faster. He's a better athlete, and he's showing the ability to improve his game and make corrections week to week to week. Pro Football Focus had a great tweet yesterday on the amount of time it was taking Malik Willis to throw the ball from in the preseason game 1 to Saturday night. Massive improvement. I mean, nearly a second and a half almost, improvement there. And so at this point, Malik Willis deserves every opportunity. And on Sunday, I think it was Paul Kaharski who asked a question about, getting guys enough practice time during the season. Well, the number 3 quarterback isn't getting it much at anything. The backup's the one who helps run the scout teams. And that's the guy who's going to get the work, and Malik Willis needs more work. That's why we saw him play all but one series on Saturday night. It's why he started all 3 preseason games. They know what they've got in Ryan Tannehill. They need to get Malik Willis up to speed as fast as possible to help him make that jump from Liberty to the NFL. He's the number 2. He's earned it on the field. And the question is, do they keep a third? And I have a hard time seeing that. and then we'll see, if they can get Logan Woodside back on the practice squad.
Teresa Walker from the Associated Press, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Teresa, we talked so much about the offensive line throughout camp. Now that camp's over, it looks like Brewer's going to be the starter at left guard, Petit Frere the starter at right tackle. Do you feel better, worse, the same about the offensive line than you did heading into camp for the Titans?
Well, let's face it, we're going to have to see this whole line as it's constructed, and now we've got them training last night, for a depth guy who's got experience starting at left tackle, with the Carolina Panthers and Daly. It makes me wonder about Dylan Radins. We saw him getting some snaps last week at left guard, and this is a guy that they traded for last night who can do those kind of things. Be your backup left tackle, be a backup left guard, be a depth piece. So really makes me curious, if having given Dylan Radins a whole off season and not seeing, more improvement. I mean, let's face it, the start of camp, he got the work at right tackle in the off season program. This was his job to win, and he couldn't do it. So it makes me wonder what they do with him. Is he now just a depth piece, or is he? And he showed he was able to start and play left tackle last year against the Niners on just a few hours' notice. So so maybe you do hold on to him. But if his name is on that list of cuts today, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, Jared Stillman's got that at 85%, so gonna be very interesting. I hear what you're saying. I guess I just well, it's a very valid point, especially when they make this move. I still also look at their overall depth and don't it's not like they're loaded with quality. You got to keep 8 or 9 guys. I would still think he'd be one of them, but we'll see. I think Jamarco Jones and Radins are both, possible cuts. Anyone else, Teresa, as you look at up and down the roster, because I had to do like a 53, and it's like, gosh, they keep a 5th outside linebacker. How many corners? If you had, if there was a particular surprise today, either a surprise cut of someone we have kind of assumed, or maybe a surprise emergence of someone you think will make the roster, does anyone come to mind?
Well, I'll just say this. Des Fitzpatrick is a guy that I just have a hard time seeing making this roster. When he gets that ball thrown through, and he can't pull it in for the touchdown Saturday night, it seemed to be kind of the punctuation mark. He talked about your roller coaster. He's been up, he's been down. Jamarco Jones, I see him disappearing off this roster before I see Radins. But for what you mentioned, the depth situation. And, there's the reports that they've already cut Adrian Colbert, another guy that they brought in for safety help. It still feels like they're going to be looking on the waiver wire over the next 24 hours, looking for more help at safety, just because, for depth behind Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard. But, and Monty Rice, that injury, maybe they do go get another piece at inside linebacker to, just help their depth there. But guys, let's face it, the biggest move came yesterday when they announced that, yes, and it was nice to see them do that, because their schedule is such that they weren't talking yesterday. They're not talking to us today. And our first chance to really talk to, John Robinson and Mike Vrabel about what this final roster looks like comes tomorrow afternoon. So I was really glad to see them, that was a nod of respect to what that Brett Kern has meant to this team, when, them going ahead and releasing that. But there's not a lot of tinkering to go on this roster right now. That's the mark of where this team is. So, to me, it's the question: do they keep a 6th wide receiver? Can they upgrade on Dylan Radins, off of the waiver wire and get somebody else in here to improve their offensive line depth, and then safety depth and inside linebacker? Those are the areas, because I don't see them keeping a 5th outside linebacker, because the emergence of Rashad Weaver in his second year at coming off of the injury that ended his rookie year, he has been very, very impressive. Now, if they do keep a 5th, David Anaya, but he seems like a guy who's just, if they can, sneak him onto the practice squad so you've got him there.
Going to be an interesting day around the league, no question about it. Teresa Walker, our guest, here on Robby and Rexrode. Teresa, great stuff. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
Michelle, told you so.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Teresa.
Uh-oh. We got an inside joke going on.
We do.
Man.
Teresa Walker.
You guys are clowning us.
Our guest here on Robby and Rexrode from the Associated Press does an outstanding job. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans. Welcome more of your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Attention men, have you been struggling with erectile dysfunction? Well, Hillside Medical Clinic has a breakthrough treatment for ED that does not require any pills, injections, or surgery. And right now, Miles joins us from Hillside Medical Clinic to tell us all about it. Miles, what's going on?
Well, we got to upgrade our way we treat ED. We've been too long with the pill, too long with surgery, and too long with needles. They all come with side effects. They all come with pain. Let's upgrade it to acoustic wave therapy. It's a heavily vetted medical technology, not a pill. The machine itself is like a little ultrasound machine that sits on the skin. Gentle pressure waves will travel through the skin into the blood vessels. That helps them to expand to allow for more blood flow, but oftentimes repair and regrow those blood vessels themselves. This is treating ED at the root cause, pain-free, side effect-free, and with no recovery time.
So, Miles, what kinds of clinical studies have been done on this technology?
Well, on our website, we feature about 60 of them from 5 different countries. They're all placebo-controlled. They're all calling it safe and effective. Cambridge has looked at this. So has the Cleveland Clinic. They're all calling it safe and effective, and some say it should be the new standard of care for treatment of ED.
And, Miles, you've got a special offer if our listeners call in right now.
We do, and we have a little extra for you today. If you give us a call right now, your exam, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound are free. We give you a gift just for coming in. That's free as well. It provides powerful results in the bedroom. But if you call today, right now, in fact, we'll include tune-up treatments. If we treat you and for any reason those results start to fade over time, come back in. We'll retreat you again free of charge.
That's right, guys. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction by treating the root cause of the problem. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now to qualify for that offer at 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your ED and regain your love life. Call Hillside Medical Clinic right now at 615-576-5000.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Kick off week 1 with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. Tons of great bets to make for week 1, and I think right now everybody feels pretty good about the Titans against the Giants. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Sheet Metal Workers Local 177 is looking for the next great skilled construction tradesman out there. Are you unhappy with your current situation and seeking a better opportunity? If you have prior years of experience and are getting overlooked, it's time to advance your career and start your journey with Smart Local 177. They offer great benefits and job opportunities that are waiting for you. Further your career in the construction trade industry at sheetmetal177.com or call 615-292-0587. An equal opportunity employer.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Your favorite game, Silly Underdog Picks, is back. Sign up today at thegamenashville.com or the 102.5 The Game app. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Some cuts coming in around the league. We talked about O.J. Howard getting cut by the Bills earlier. Philip Lindsay, running back in Indianapolis, cut as well. So a lot of people thought he might be kind of the third guy behind Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines in Indy, but not to be. Philip Lindsay cut by the Colts. So lots of moves coming in. We'll keep you updated on the Titans as well. Joe, a move that was made yesterday, right as we were getting off the air, the Titans informed Brett Kern that they will be releasing him, and it looks like Ryan Stonehouse going to be the punter for the Titans heading into this season. So you're talking about a guy in Kern that was here since 2009. As Teresa pointed out in the last segment, he was a really good punter for a long time on some teams that were not so great. As the Titans have gotten better, he's still been, one of the best punters in the league over the course of the past 5 or 6 years. So, Joe, I ask you, is Brett Kern, the era of Kern now apparently done here in Nashville, what is the legacy of Brett Kern in your mind here with the Titans, and what do you make of the decision that the Titans have made to go with Stonehouse heading into this season?
Well, Adam in Portland called in earlier and said Brett Kern's top 5 Titan of all time. I don't know if I'm willing to go there, but you're talking about excellence for a long time. Truly, that, like Teresa brought up the 5 and 27 teams, right up there among the best players on the Titans roster. Basically, it was what, Kern and Delaney Walker and Jarrell Casey.
That was about it. No disrespect to the Met show, but that was about it.
Yes. And your face of the franchise, Taylor Lewan. Let's not forget him.
Well, so you arguing it was Brett Kern? I'll listen to that.
Actually, why? I can't believe he never came up during that conversation.
He was on a banner outside the stadium. I know that.
Yeah, just a tremendous player, and it's just. I joke about punter awareness and stuff, and I even I went and found my 2019 Kern story in which I actually put punter awareness in the headline. So, my dad jokes I just hold on to them for dear life for years and years. But seriously, punting is hugely important in football. And if you are as good as he is at pinning teams, at having that precision in high pressure moments, there is a lot of value in that. I don't think the value of that is expressed enough. And not to mention that, Kern was just, a very, very visible and active guy around Nashville and all these things. So his legacy he is one of the best players of the Titans era. I don't know where on that list he would be. Top 5 seems a little bit rich for his blood, maybe, but he's one of the best.
Oh, he's one of the. I was looking at this yesterday. It's pretty amazing. Now, there have been, and we talked about this earlier, there have been some different guys that have punted for the Titans, be that because of injury. We don't have to look much further than Trevor Daniel a couple of years ago in the Colts game. So it's not like it's been exclusively these two guys. But for the most part, it pretty much has been exclusively these two guys. It was Craig Hentrick from 99 all the way until 2009, and then it was Brett Kern. They've basically had 2 full-time punters throughout the history of their entire franchise. It's pretty remarkable when you look at it that way, of how much consistency and longevity the Titans have been able to get out of their punters since they've been here in Nashville.
And based on, what I'm seeing from Stonehouse, granted it's one camp, but I think we could be talking about Ryan Stonehouse in 2030, in the 2030s still, as the Titans punter. Who knows? At that point, on Stilly and Pauly, he could have like a regular weekly spot. Who knows where things will go? But he's He's got a lot of ability, and I get it. I think this move, when you feel like you've got someone who could be that kind of guy, I understand. And a weapon this year too, by the way. I understand it. I will say, like the risk in this, there is risk. I mean, if Randy Bullock misses 3 out of 4 field goals all of a sudden in a stretch, are we all not going to be asking about the hold? You know, I mean, just because that's the one thing that has changed now. Yeah. And there's certain moments where, the Titans are holding on to a 2-point lead, a minute left, and they're at their own 45, and he just blasts one into the end zone to the 20, and then the other team has enough time to come down and kick a field goal. Are we not going to say, yeah, Brett Kern would have put that at the 6, man? And they wouldn't. That would have been the difference in them not having enough time to get that much real estate covered. Yes, These things will be brought up.
I got a texture that says, Kern kept this team afloat for so many years, made pivotal plays to help this team either get a win or in a position to go for a win. As much as it hurts, time and money play a factor. This new guy seems to have something special as well. That's an interesting point that we've not talked about a lot with the Kern situation. How much do you think the money part of it was a factor when it comes to, yes, you like Stonehouse, his leg, the ability that maybe he can be your punter for years to come, but he's also this year cheaper than Brett Kern is. Do you think that played any role at all in this decision?
Well, it's one of those things like, and by the way, this is good too. I don't think this was a money move. This was not a money move. This was we found our punter for the long term. Brett Kern is probably done after this year, and then we're going to be searching for a punter next year. So you know what? This is the guy. But sure, and then when you're going through the pros and cons, and however John Robinson does that certainly ends up on the pros list, of course.
There was another move made yesterday by the Titans as well as they address their offensive line. Now, we knew heading into today, as, again, roster cuts are due by 3 o'clock today, that the offensive line was probably something that they were going to take a look at. But Dennis Daly coming over in a trade from the Carolina Panthers. The Titans get him and a 7th-round draft pick in 2024 in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick in 2024 as well that they send to Carolina. He's a guy that's played left tackle. He's played left guard. He's played right guard. I think he's got 13 career starts at left tackle. What did you make of that move, and what does that signal to you about what the Titans may do today on the offensive line when cuts start to roll out?
Well, I've seen a little bit of reaction to this, like, someone pointed out that he had a bunch of penalties. Like, oh, that's going to be a real problem this year. Well, look, guys, he's not coming in here to start. It's a depth add. If he's starting, then that's problematic for the Titans. That means there's an injury. I think it's potential. This could potentially mean that he is the swing tackle. I think Dylan Radins was the most likely candidate to be the swing tackle. Also, we talked about this earlier in the show. He has been almost exclusively a left side player in his career. He has 21 NFL starts, all but 1 on the left side, 13 at left tackle. So maybe it's Daly is now Lawan's backup, and Radins is now Petit Frere's backup. I really don't think Dylan Radins gets cut today, and I understand that he's a massive. I think it's hard for some people, some who will go unnamed, to separate the massive disappointment of a 2nd-round pick not being nearly that good, but not then. Like, you still have to put him in the context of the rest of the offensive linemen and the depth chart, and the reality that Petit Frere won the job, but he didn't win the job going away. I mean, it's still pretty close there. So that might be it. It might be that Radins is your backup right tackle and Daly's your backup left tackle.
We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. We'll also get to a player that was just released in the league that has me wondering, could he make his 3rd appearance with the Tennessee Titans? We'll get to that coming up next as well. Also, your next opportunity to join the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League as well. All that ahead. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge.
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
Passion.
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
And expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey football fans, Dak Prescott here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
But I think for you, the idea of new players isn't exciting, it's terrifying. Because you talk about Kern being able to put the ball at the 2-yard line.
Yep.
Well, who's to say Stonehouse can't do that or
put
won't
the ball at
do
the
that?
1-yard line the first time.
He has done it. I mean, he's a rookie punter, and yes, of course, he almost dropped the snap and was able to overcome it. But who says he's going to be able to
the snap before?
And who's going to say he's going to be able to recover against the Buffalo Bills, for example? But you are nervous about the unknown when it really could be the best in the best interest of the football team, because now you may have just reset the clock on your punter, and you have another Brett Kern for the next 13 years.
Sure. I mean, maybe he's Ray Guy, and I've said that many times.
And maybe he's not.
Maybe he's Ray Guy.
But you're just nervous of the unknown.
I'm nervous because it's not something that I want to have to worry about.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or replenish the old one that you've got. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months same as cash financing and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate. Or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
The Labor Day event from Dell Technologies is here. End the summer strong by starting up a new season of productivity. Your business upgrade begins with up to 48% off top-rated laptops like Vostro, taking performance to the next level with 12th Gen Intel Core processors. It's time to push your growing business even further. What's next for you? Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. 877-ASK-DELL.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. It's that time of the day. Time to give away another spot in the second annual Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. We will have our fantasy football draft a week from tomorrow. So looking for that. Fantasy football season is upon us. So looking forward to that coming up. Today's trivia question is this. If you know the answer, hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. The first person to correctly guess the answer will win a spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. Today's question is this. Taylor Lewan caught a touchdown pass in 2016 for the Tennessee Titans. Against what team did Taylor Lewan catch the touchdown pass? Who were the Titans playing? Against what team did Taylor Lewan catch his touchdown pass in 2016? His only career touchdown reception thus far. If you know the answer, hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, do you know the answer to this question?
I think I do, but I might be wrong. I have an idea. I'm actually, I'm not going to give any hints. I think I know, but actually, I might be wrong. Is Dennis? Didn't Dennis already get in the league? Dennis just showing off. He's just trying to come in here and like get all the right answers.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone has given what I think is the right answer, but I don't know if it is.
Well, I don't know.
We have a right answer waiting for their name.
Okay.
So I was right.
Well, there's a lot of text. A lot of text rolling in,
but
most of which I see are wrong.
But the first one that doesn't have a name is what I thought it was.
Okay.
And I remember this game very clearly because my child got taunted in the stands.
Well,
we're fans of this team.
We've definitely got the if it's what you're thinking, then I think it's wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Well, we've got correct answers on the text line. So the answer is the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts were the team that Taylor Lewan caught his touchdown pass against in 2016. You thinking Packers?
Yeah, I was thinking Packers game, which, of course, my kid wore a Lions jersey to the Titans-Packers game, which is just a wonderful NFL fan delight.
Michelle, when we have the name of our winner, just let me know. We'll announce it.
Mason is our winner.
Mason.
Just responded.
There we go. Mason, our winner. Congratulations to Mason, who correctly guessed that Taylor Lewan caught his touchdown pass in 2016 against the Indianapolis Colts. Mason, the newest member of the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. We have 3 more spots to give away, which we will do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. So do not fret. You have 3 more opportunities to win a spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. We've had a lot of interest in it, and we greatly appreciate it. So appreciate everybody for listening and guessing on that front as well. Joe, there has been a move in the NFL that is intriguing to me because he's been picked up by the Titans twice, and I'm interested to see if they do it again. Michael Pruitt, released by the Atlanta Falcons down in Atlanta. Obviously, he's a guy that has been here a couple of different times. We thought he wasn't coming back last year, and then all of a sudden he was back. Do you think the Titans are happy with their tight end room, specifically if they decide to keep 4? And if not, do you think that Michael Pruitt could end up being the 4th tight end for the Titans yet again this year?
This brings me back to last year and my shaming of people who were like talking about Michael Pruitt. Like, they don't want Michael Pruitt. If they did, they would have kept him. And then they end up with Michael Pruitt. So whoever was out there doing that, you're welcome to come take more shots at me right now. I deserve it. I'm gonna say basically the same thing though. Like, I don't think that they want Michael Pruitt. But at the same time, like, how does he compare in their mind to Tommy Hudson? Tommy Hudson, I think, is the 4th tight end. David Wells has been out there and it's gotten some work, and we know they already cut Bradley Moore. How does Michael Pruitt at this point compare in their mind to Tommy Hudson? Tommy Hudson's quite a bit younger. Michael Pruitt did a good job for them last year. I mean, I thought Michael Pruitt was a real nice ad, and it's like he's one of those guys. It's like if they had brought back Kelly or even like Quessenberry or whatever, you're always like, they're always looking for something better, and then it comes back around. It's like, pretty good player. Just stick with that player. So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just going to guess that they're not going to be interested.
I think they're probably going to go with what they've got. I think they feel good about like the pass catching part of it. Like, Pruitt caught some big passes for him last year, but when you got Hooper already and you've got Chikakonkwo, who I think they feel really good about. Jeff Swaim's more of kind of the blocking guy. Hudson can be that guy as well. Like, I think they've got a good mix of tight ends in their room right now, so I would expect them to probably leave it alone, but I just bring it up because I didn't think he was coming back last year, and all of a sudden he did, and Arthur Smith let him go down there in Atlanta. The Atlanta Titans are falling apart, losing out on some Titans down there.
Yeah. McNichols?
Yeah.
Or wait, is he with the Bears? Get it.
No, he was down there, and then he got cut.
Yeah, he got cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing, Art Smith? Come on, man. Trying to keep this Falcons-Titans family together.
That's right. Speaking of Titans running backs, so we got into this discussion earlier in the show, and I'm interested to get people's thoughts on it. So there's been a lot of chatter about Derrick Henry this offseason, and we've talked about, Football Outsiders coming out with a piece about his broken tackle percentage going down. Bill Barnwell at ESPN talking about his yards per carry going down last year before he got hurt. And there seems to be this expectation on the outside, at least, that maybe Derrick Henry and his best days are behind him as an NFL running back, and maybe they are. We'll have to wait and see what happens. My question to you, Joe Rexrode, is what if they're not? And what if he's back, he's completely healthy, and he's vintage Derrick Henry this year? What does that mean for the Titans and their bottom line when it comes to the AFC South race? What does that mean for Derrick Henry and his continued legacy this year if he is once again the Derrick Henry that we've grown to know and love? It's an interesting discussion with him, particularly this time of year, because I feel like we get into training camp and people just forget that Derrick Henry exists because he doesn't do anything in training camp and he's not going to play in the preseason. But we're getting ready to get back to a point with the Giants game coming up where Derrick Henry is not only going to be important, he's probably going to be the focal point of this Titans offense.
Well, see, that's weird because, to me, the story of training camp was Ryan Tannehill, and the number 2 story was Derrick Henry. I mean, it's all about those guys. Yes, I'm being facetious. Sorry. Well, if Derrick Henry, I think I've been trying to figure out. We've talked about this, but I've been trying to figure out why this year in particular there seems to be such a disconnect locally and nationally. Okay, with expectations for the Titans. And we've talked about a lot of those things. Tannehill for sure. David Long, not knowing who he is, and just in general, I mean, some people actually think this is like a bad defense. I went on a show like last week, and I honestly don't remember, but it was like, a radio show like, let's talk about the Titans today. Like we're gonna do with Jay Morrison later, talking about the Bengals.
Yeah.
And was asked about like the terrible pass rush and everything. And I was like, guys, like last year it was good. They got 9. Like, don't everybody watches the playoff games, don't they? Like, if you pay attention to the NFL, you at least watch the playoff games.
I would think.
Right? But like they had 9 sacks. So, but I must, maybe we're underrated in the Derrick Henry aspect of that a little bit, because maybe that's part of it. Like people are just like, foot, and now, he's over the hill. And so you got that. You got this pick throwing QB who, was never that good, and AJ Brown. I mean, I guess you add all these things up, and if you don't pay super close attention to the Titans, I get it. I've underrated that aspect of it, but I personally think that Derrick Henry is going to be really good this year. And some of that is dependent on offensive line, but I think Derrick Henry looks fantastic.
Well, that guy, and we've talked about this for a long time, he just feels like he's built differently. Like if his foot's healthy, and all indications are his foot's healthy, like unless he just gets hurt again, I think he's going to be fine this year. Like I don't expect while he's in there to just be watching Derrick Henry play and be like, well, let's come in on Monday morning against the Giants or after the Giants game and be like, man, Derrick Henry looks like he's like half the player that he was last year. Now, it happens quickly in this league, and we know that. I mean, that can come up on you, especially that position, pretty quickly. But I just think there's a lot of chatter about him falling off the table this offseason, and I just don't know that I buy into it. I mean, he is the favorite on the FanDuel Sportsbook for the Comeback Player of the Year award at plus 400. And if he stays healthy, I think he's got a great shot to do that. But if he is the Derrick Henry that we've seen the last couple of years pre-injury for the Titans, to me that spells very good things. And it also makes me wonder about another part of Derrick Henry and exactly where his legacy fits in as it relates to Titans and their all-time players. And we'll get into that coming up next as well. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
2, 3, 4, look. High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for The Game Blitz, presented by Apple Collision Centers.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
On Fox 17 Code Red, meteorologist Greg Bobus. Morning temperatures in the 70s. Scattered showers and storms weakening throughout this morning into the afternoon. Will dry out after lunchtime. Humidity decreasing as well. High temperatures for today in the upper 80s to near 90.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster's, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge.
But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99.
You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as J.T. Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time and decided to transfer. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron zeroed in on Burrow and landed him. In his second season at LSU, Burrow led the Tigers to a 15-0 record, a national championship, and arguably the best season ever by a college quarterback.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When your college football team talks to the right recruits, anything is possible. And the same is true for your business, because when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 810 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to the most qualified candidates so you can start hiring the right people. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Chase McCabe.
The best way to figure that out is to watch Twitter.
Willie Donick.
Trying to move down the field for the winning field goal.
And Derek Mason.
I'm putting in my hours and I'm out of here.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning. We'll be joined by Jay Morrison from The Athletic coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals. Titans fans are very familiar with that team. We'll get his thoughts on expectations for the defending AFC champions heading back into this season. That coming up at 9 o'clock. Right now, talking Titans, taking your thoughts on Derrick Henry, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, we've gone through the discussion this offseason about his pursuit for the Hall of Fame and what all kind of has to go into that for him to get there. I'm interested, like, if he has another good year for the Titans and he is vintage Derrick Henry, and that doesn't necessarily mean he has to get 2,000 yards, but he's in contention for the rushing title. He's around 15, 1,600 yards, and is another huge reason why the Titans are making the playoffs again. Where does he fit in the discussion of the all-time great Tennessee Titans? Because I think you can make an argument. Matter of fact, I do make an argument that right now it's between two people. It's between Steve McNair and Derrick Henry. I love Eddie George. He was a great player here with the Titans. Chris Johnson was a great player. Keith Bullock was a great player. They've had a lot of great players. Derek Mason was a great player with the Titans. You can go on and on and on about the different players that they've had. But to me, like the top level of Derrick Henry and the consistency in which he's done it, and Steve McNair obviously being a quarterback and a co-MVP of the league, like those two guys to me are the two greatest Titans that I've seen. Like if he has another really elite level year, is Derrick Henry the greatest Titan of all time? That's an interesting question. I think you'll have different responses from different people. I think there are some people out there that no one's ever going to pass Steve McNair unless you're a quarterback that wins a Super Bowl. Like that may be the criteria. Like I think it's a different answer for different people. But I think if he has another big year, I think you can make a pretty strong case that Derrick Henry is the greatest Titan of all time.
Yeah, some of this I think is age related, probably. Look, I mean, there's some people who weigh in on this discussion who really didn't watch Steve McNair because they were too young or they weren't around. I mean, it's been that long now,
yep.
And so that it's probably an easier call for them to go with Henry. Some will say, look, like you just said, I mean, the quarterback is just a different deal. It's the most important position, so that gives McNair an edge. He went a step further than Derrick Henry. He got to the Super Bowl. Henry only got to the AFC title game so far. But I talked about it earlier in the show. I mean, if you go through McNair's actual stats and performances in the playoffs, they overall not very good. 6 career TD passes, 11 career picks in his playoff games. He threw for 500 and change in the 4 postseason games in the Super Bowl year, whereas Derrick Henry completely dominated 2 games at the running back position in New England and Baltimore, the number 1 seed with the MVP.
Right. Now, the thing I will say, and you're totally right about all that, the thing I will say about McNair in that stretch, though, is like there were so many plays that either don't show up in the box score or were just huge moment plays. Like he had, what was it, it's like a 65-yard run in the AFC title game against the Jags that got down to the 1, the drive in the Super Bowl against the Rams, like he was unbelievable on that drive. Like there were some big-time moments, and not just in that postseason and in other postseasons as well, where that guy came up big.
Right. Like if you're just going to go by the stats, like, it wasn't that good. But I remember Steve McNair as being great in some of those games. I remember Steve McNair in the second half of that Super Bowl just being just incredible. And, of course, he's also co-MVP if we're going to do this whole comparison. But that also makes me think of the Tannehill knock for the playoff games we've talked about, dominated by Derrick Henry, that Tannehill was like a detriment or no factor, and that's not true either. He made winning throws in those 2 wins. He made good throws in the first half before everything fell apart at Kansas City. He wasn't good enough to carry them when Derrick Henry got stopped. And by the way, Derrick Henry has been stopped 3 straight playoff games now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would think most people would agree. Again, when we're talking Titans, we're talking just Titans career, not like Bruce Matthews, most of his great years with the Oilers.
Right.
I would think that at least the top 2 would be pretty clear. And it's a good argument.
Well, we had the discussion heading into last year, like, is Derrick Henry the greatest Titans running back of all time? And there were people that were still on Team Eddie George. Some said Chris Johnson. Like, I think most people agree now that Derrick Henry's that guy. Like, he, to me, he's kind of a combination of the two from the standpoint of he's got great power but also great speed as well. But I think it's pretty clear he's the best Titans running back of all time, and they've been blessed to have some great ones along the way. But I watch him play, and I think certainly if he has another elite level year, number one, like it's the thing we don't talk about either. We talk about Tannehill and the decision the Titans have to make on him at the end of the year. Well, if Derrick Henry's not good this year, if he's not close to the same player that he's been, there's a decision on him too. And, it's kind of weird to think about it that way, but at that position, it could change quickly. So it is an important year from Derrick Henry from that standpoint too.
Yeah, and look, I think that's, again, the general consensus on running backs and how things go at that position. I think a lot of people around the league probably expect this to be close to the end, and they may be right. I mean, I think if Derrick Henry has another significant injury, then it goes fast when that starts happening, right? It's just a huge year for him to stay healthy. I just think if he does stay healthy, I don't see how he doesn't have a really good year. Maybe the offensive line is not good enough. I mean, that's the question. They were still a good run blocking offensive line last year. This has been a good run blocking offensive line in his entire career, going back to when he was a backup for DeMarco Murray for 2 years. But you lose Roger Saffold, a guy you brought in to be a run blocking star, and he was. And now you got those questions at two positions, plus aging guys at other positions. And how much does that? I still feel like I feel like Derrick Henry at his best can make an average offensive line good, but I don't know. A bad offensive line, I think there's limitations for any running back.
Yeah, I agree. 615-737-1025. Ben on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I'd say an 80% chance his best days are behind him, but not even because of the injury, just wear and tear, and he was so good it's hard to get to 2,000 again. He almost has to take a miniature step back by default, but he can still be very effective and carry the team. That's coming from Ben on the text line.
Well, I don't expect 2,000. It was outrageous last year.
Right,
but he was on pace.
I don't think he necessarily has to get 2,000 to be vintage level player Derrick Henry, though, either.
Agree. No, I agree. And we'll see how it goes. And maybe, like, Mike Vrabel's not tipping his hand, right? But I still believe that we're going to see a little bit of reduction in workload. There's nothing that says for certain that the injury he suffered in Indy was a workload accumulation injury. But if you reduce the workload, you still, just by math, reduce the chances for that to happen again, right? So I do feel like we're going to see a little bit of that. If Derrick Henry, but I also think Derrick Henry is going to get enough work, and if he's healthy, he's going to be right there for the NFL rushing title. That might be, 1,250 yards this year. I mean, who knows?
Heidi from Dixon on the text line says, half of the current Titans fans don't even know who Steve McNair is. Henry has it locked away already. Heidi also said earlier in the show, back to our sports discussion, that she wears a shooting sleeve but takes it off when she's not hitting shots and wants to ask Rexrode if that's okay.
That's Joe, too.
Oh, yeah.
I should get a shooting sleeve. Brennan wears like the sleeve out there, all this like the long thing playing football, and it's all like, oh, it's so important. It's the drip. He says it's the drip.
The drip.
How's my drip? How's my drip?
Okay.
Like,
okay,
know,
Joe, please. That's one you can't say it. Okay.
Go make a tackle. Go make a tackle. And that's fine. You can call me a boomer all you want. I mean, just come on. Like, let's just go out and perform the sports. Heidi just derailed the conversation.
Well, she thinks Derrick Henry's already got it in the bag as the best Titan of all time.
Yeah. Okay. So no, but Heidi, the whole point. I mean, look, like I never watched Bart Starr play, but like he's still going to be talked about with Packers quarterbacks, right? Like just because some of the people in the fan base don't remember someone, that doesn't mean that like we should forget them, right? Come on, Heidi. We can still remember the past and honor the heroes who came before us.
That's right. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Jay Morrison from The Athletic. We'll get his thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow and company, heading into the season. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game. Talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. A new name for a familiar place. This is the Commodore Report. I'm Kevin Ingram. A fun way to begin the week for Vanderbilt Athletics with the announcement of a new 10-year agreement with First Bank that includes naming rights for the football stadium. Athletics Director Candace Lee notes that the partnership involves Nashville-based institutions that have been around more than a century.
As we celebrate the stadium's 100th anniversary, this partnership builds on the university's long and cherished tradition of community collaboration.
Lee says the venue will continue to honor the Dudley Field designation, which it received when it opened in 1922. First Bank President Chris Holmes helped make the announcement and also brought along a gift.
It's my honor to present Vanderbilt and Athletic Director Lee with $500,000 to create scholarships for current Vanderbilt student athletes from Tennessee-based high schools who are pursuing degrees in finance.
Vanderbilt's first game at First Bank Stadium is this Saturday as the Commodores host Elon in the home opener. Vandy trying to improve to 2-0 after that impressive win at Hawaii to open up the season. Commodore soccer is also unbeaten with 4 wins and as many shutouts coming off Sunday's victory over Providence. 3 Vandy players scored their first career goals against the Friars. Addie Porter, Hannah McLaughlin, and Brooke Van Dyke to go with the penalty kick by Ella Schamberger. Next up, ETSU at home on Friday night. And if you missed last night's edition of Commodore Hour, be sure to find it at the Anchor podcast page, and be sure to check out as well that new Vanderbilt Athletics app. That is the Commodore Report on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Jim Jeffries.
Here's the thing about millennials.
Live on stage.
You're the worst people that have ever lived.
Saturday, October 8th at Ryman Auditorium. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
When you bundle your renters and auto insurance with Progressive, you could save money, but it doesn't cover any terrible memories living rent-free in your head.
Hey, just wanted to remind you of that time your kicker missed the extra point and lost the game. Even though he literally never missed an extra point, he chose this playoff game to miss. Yeah, I just noticed you hadn't thought about that in a bit. Wouldn't want you to miss, thinking about it.
Sorry, we can't save you from that memory, but we could save you money bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Renters insurance and bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stilly and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking a look around the AFC, and to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Jay Morrison, who covers the Cincinnati Bengals for The Athletic. Jay, what's going on? How we doing?
Oh, doing great. Just trying to track all these cuts that are coming down today.
It's going to be a busy day across the league, no question about that. So, Jay, as you can imagine, I don't know that Titans fans are ever going to forget the playoff game against the Bengals this past season. A lot of pain coming from Titans fans from that game. But the last time we saw the Bengals, they had some struggles on the offensive line and were able to get to the Super Bowl in spite of it. They've taken some steps to address that this offseason. How much better do you expect the protection and the offensive line play to be for Joe Burrow this year?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, you mentioned it, 9 sacks in that game, and the Bengals still found a way to win. It was 70 sacks, 139 hits in the regular season and the playoffs. And then that was the key piece of the offseason was to get that line increased or improved in free agency. They did it on the very first day. They signed Alex Kappa and Ted Karras. Joe Burrow has been adamant. A lot of people think of all these sacks as being guys flying off the edge. The Tennessee game showed exactly what Joe Burrow hates, and that's pressure up the middle. He really has a much more harder time dealing with that than he does the guys off the edge. He feels like he has a good chance to make them miss, or at least a fighting chance. And then they finished it up a few days later with La'el Collins at right tackle. So 3 new starters, all of them with a lot of experience in this league, 2 of them with Super Bowl rings. It really was the one glaring weakness of this team last year, and they improved it. So I think the Bengals and their fans are feeling pretty good about what Joe Burrow's protection is going to look like this year.
Yeah, just following up on that, Jay, I know it's, practice probably gives a lot better glimpse, than the preseason games. Not sure how much those guys actually got to play out there, but what's your sense for, do you feel like they got what they paid for with those guys, and is there a good chemistry yet?
Yeah, that's kind of incomplete. Alex Kappa had core muscle surgery in OTAs and missed most of OTAs. He was back for training camp. Lael Collins showed up for training camp on the non-football injury list with a back injury. His only 2 days of competitive practice were the joint practices against the Rams, and one ended early because he started a fight. So that is the whole chemistry aspect of it is still a work in progress, even though they've had these guys on the books since March. And the other thing to remember, we always talk about with the offensive line is the no donkey approach. They've had a battle all year at left guard, and the assumption was last year's second-round pick, Jackson Carman, was going to win that. He has not. They're going to go with a fourth-round rookie out of North Dakota State. So as good as that right side looks, if you've got a hole on the left side, if this rookie can't hold up, defenses like the Titans are going to exploit it and still get to Joe Burrow.
So, Jay, to that point, you brought up the Aaron Donald incident with the helmet being slung around out there. What's been the reaction to that in Cincinnati with the fans? What's been the reaction to that in the organization as well?
Yeah, shrug from the organization. Zach Taylor was asked about it in the immediate aftermath. He was asked about it again this week. Wants to put it behind them, says they've moved on. Cincinnati fans are understandably bitter. Anytime if you see someone swinging a helmet at someone's head in a game, it's a suspension. If they do it in practice, it's A-okay. It's up to the team to met out the punishment, and the Rams aren't going to severely punish their best player, arguably the best player in the league. And it kind of reopened the wounds, even though a lot of people think the Bengals were lucky to get to the Super Bowl and it was kind of a charm season. Losing that game at the end the way they did and watching Aaron Donald run around pointing at his finger just to see that guy kind of do this to one of their players, I think he's enemy number one right now in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that was wild. That was you're right. Of course, Rams aren't going to do anything. But I looked at that and I was like, gosh, if there was ever a time for the NFL to overstep, which of course the NFL does all the time, I feel like at least a fine or something to try to deter that, because that looked really dangerous. Jay, this defense returns 10 starters. Do you believe it can be significantly improved from last season?
Yeah, I really do. Lou Anarumo's making a name for himself, the defensive coordinator, as what the players called him in the playoffs last year, the mad scientist, with the way he disguises things and he can change the scheme and the game plan, not just from game to game, but from half to half. And yeah, you mentioned 10 starters back. It's kind of like 10 and a half, because the only one that's not back is Larry Ogunjobi, and he and B.J. Hill were a platoon and at the three technique, and B.J. Hill is back. So it is like they have the whole band back together, and they've really added on that defensive line some young talent. It's unproven, but they've looked really good in camp and in the preseason games. So the pass rush shouldn't be improved. The defense, the secondary looks like it's going to be great. They drafted Dax Hill in the first round out of Michigan. He's supposed to be Jesse Bates' replacement. If Jesse Bates didn't show up, Jesse Bates did show up and sign his franchise tag last week. So now Dax Hill is going to be this versatile piece, almost like a pawn that Lou Anarumo can put anywhere on the field, in the slot, outside corner, as a third safety, as a safety in Bates' place to give Bates a blow. It's going to be – it would not surprise me to see this be a top 5 defense this year.
Jay Morrison from The Athletic on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Jay, it may be scary for the rest of the league to think about this, but the Joe Burrow-Jamar Chase connection, I know they played together in college, obviously, at LSU, and then the first year in Cincinnati last year. How much better do you think that connection can and will get the more years they continue to play together?
Yeah, that chemistry is only going to grow. You would assume Jamar Chase's talent is going to grow and Joe Burrow's talent is going to grow. Those guys are still so young, not even close to their primes yet. The question, if you want to talk about can he have the same kind of year numbers-wise, I think the defenses are going to decide that. If defenses want to take him out of the game, they can, but then they've got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. They went and signed Hayden Hurst in free agency, a former first-round pick at tight end. they've got other weapons to go to if teams try to take Jamar Chase away. And we did see teams toward the end of last year really roll coverage at Jamar Chase, and he still burned them from time to time while those other guys had big games. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. And the most interesting thing is, what are they going to do with Jamar Chase? I think we're going to see him in the slot a whole lot more this year in some bunch and stack formations. And they're going to even try to figure ways to get him open, even if teams are concentrating solely on him to try to shut him down.
Jay, how does Joe Mixon look? I feel like Joe Mixon is one of the overlooked players in this league, and maybe it's the position too, because there just aren't many running backs that even get discussed. But how has he looked, and do you agree with that? Do you think people sleep on him a little bit?
Yeah, that's the forgotten piece of improving this offensive line. Is it's not all about Joe Burrow's protection. All three of these guys are going to be significant upgrades in the run game. And Joe Mixon had a career year last year with a suspect offensive line. It's kind of the same story with Burrow. If teams are going to really focus on that passing game, he could have another huge year. And he has looked good. It's hard in training camp because obviously they're not tackling. They're just thumping a little bit. But he's such a factor. He's so big. He's so fast. He has the capability of taking over a game, and they've got a number of backs behind him that'll be able to be serviceable and not make him take these kind of poundings where it's 20, 25 carries a game, and hopefully he stays fresher into the fourth quarter and then later into the season. But I expect a big year from that guy.
So, Jay, it was obviously such a magical season and ride in the playoffs last year for the Bengals, and you've got Joe Burrow back in there. You've talked about the players that are returning. How do you think this team stacks up to what is now a loaded AFC? Are they the divisional favorites? Is that Baltimore? How do you kind of forecast what this team could be once again heading into this year with an AFC that is pretty much loaded almost from top to bottom?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're playing fantasy football and you just look at the starters, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't they be the favorites to go to the Super Bowl? But the depth is still a concern. This is a young team that's still building the great roster, and you've got Joe Burrow on this rookie contract. They've had the ability to kind of spend money elsewhere and target needs, but it's not a top-to-bottom great roster. And they were so charmed last year with no real significant injuries. You almost think that the law of averages has to catch up to them this year, and they're going to have to deal with some of that. I kind of lean toward Baltimore as the favorite. I just think they're the deeper team. But, so many times when this question gets asked, you have to kind of give deference to the defending champ. And if I do give Baltimore an edge, it's a very slight edge. So I think you have to look at the Bengals as the favorite to repeat. But if I'm putting a wager down, I'm probably putting it on the Ravens.
If there's one position group that stands as the biggest concern, Jay, what would it be?
Well, I mean, so much talk about the O-line. You just assume they're going to have that improvement. I think it's tight end and maybe cornerback depth. I talked about that secondary, how strong it is. And again, that's that kind of that paper thin model where their starters are great at safety and corner, but do they have the depth? But I think the real danger spot here is tight end. They did get Hurst. If anything happened to him, they don't have another guy like him on the roster. All the guys behind him are special team, really good blockers in the run game, but no dynamic pass catchers. I saw O.J. Howard got released today. I think the Bengals will be making a call for him. I think they are going to be in the market after today's cut-down day. That's going to be a position they're really going to target and try to find another guy who can be a dynamic pass catcher if anything is to happen to Hayden Hurst.
Well, Jay, it's going to be interesting. We're looking forward to seeing how the Bengals do this year, and appreciate so much you taking time to join us this morning.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Jay Morrison from The Athletic, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll continue the conversation, welcome more of your thoughts, get you up to date on some cuts that have been made around the NFL as well. All that ahead. Kick off week one with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code ROB to get in on the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. I'm looking at the Titans in week one against the Giants. I like them to cover in that game, and I think they're going to play really well. But you take it any way you want to take it. Play your way and bet on more than just the final score. Wager on everything from touchdowns to total yards to catches. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ROB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Parker Store in 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and pay time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Papa Roach. Falling in reverse. The Rockzilla Tour with very special guests, Hollywood Undead and Bad Wolves. This Wednesday, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Papa Roach. Falling in reverse. On sale now at livenation.com.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. The moves are starting to come in throughout the NFL. We talked about O.J. Howard being released by Buffalo earlier in the show. Phillip Lindsay released by the Colts at the running back position. And, Joe, apparently the Minnesota Vikings have given up on Kellen Mond as well. Kellen Mond released a third-round pick by the Vikings last year at the quarterback position, released by Minnesota today. So I don't think a huge surprise there based on what Minnesota's done in camp thus far that he's released, but that just kind of goes to show you they have not been very impressed by what they've seen out of their third-round pick at quarterback.
Yeah, and I hesitate to draw the parallel, but at least in terms of some of the people around the league, talking about Malik Willis taking Tannehill's job this year, there was some of that with Kellen Mond last year too, and obviously it was never realistic. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of like how Kellen Mond has looked from day one, but there's never any serious discussion of him taking that job, and it's awfully fast still for them to be moving on from him. That's a bit of a surprise, just because I think Kellen Mond was viewed as a developmental player who maybe needed some time. It hasn't taken much time for them to figure out that they just don't see it in him.
Not much time at all. So not a bunch of huge names that have been cut thus far out there. I mean, O.J. Howard's still to me an interesting guy, and we heard Jay Morrison talk about it in the last segment. Like, he's got the tools, you would think, to be a pretty good tight end in this league, and he just never has really been able to put it together. But for a team like Cincinnati, who, as Jay just pointed out, may be a little light on the tight end depth, is O.J. Howard still worth taking a flyer on in your mind if you're a team like the Bengals out there?
Yeah, it's an interesting point by Jay, and I got to think there's going to be some interest that like he still has great measurables, and he's been injured, he's been banged up a lot, so there's going to be a team out there that's like, well, what if we get him and he's healthy and he's motivated and we get the best football out of him at a bargain rate. Someone has got to be interested, I would think.
See what happens on that front. We'll have more cuts to bring your way as more get announced out there on Twitter as well. They're starting to roll in pretty hot and heavy throughout the league as well, so we'll keep you updated on that. Joe, I'm interested for your thoughts on Cincinnati heading into this year, because obviously they accelerated the process last year with Joe Burrow in year 2. He was healthy. They get to the Super Bowl. They've got a receiving core that is as good as anybody's in the league. And you're coming back in this year. You've invested a ton of money in your offensive line, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, most of the defense is back. You still have a receiving core that you feel great about. Joe Burrow's on his rookie contract, and now you've addressed the offensive line as well. Like, they should be pretty good. And yet, I feel like most people are picking Baltimore to win that division, and you look around the rest of the AFC and teams like Buffalo and L.A. and Kansas City getting a lot of the love. Are people perhaps maybe even overlooking Cincinnati heading into this year? And what do you make of the prospects of that offense and how much better it could be if Joe Burrow gets some actual protection this year?
Well, this whole thing, now you asked that question, I'm going to go with Fred Nash in City, who says, well, the Bengals just sound like the perfect team. Sounds like a little bit of sarcasm. This gives me a good idea for tomorrow. I think we may need to rate the homers at the Athletic, because we have this thing over under on these, we talked last week about Austin Mock's 10,000 simulations.
Yeah.
And like the Titans over under is like 8 something, and I went over, but like everyone went over basically. Like it's amazing. Like everybody's incredible right now. Everybody's so good. They're so much better than everybody thinks. Like there are some people who are going to look like just blatant homers. Maybe me.
Maybe so.
This is all said and done. But like our Broncos guy, I was like, he's got to win in 11, and I'm like, okay, maybe, but my God, like, look who they play.
Well, somebody in that division is going to have to lose. Like there will be people that have to lose football games in that division.
And even, it's like with the AFC North, it could have been a tougher division if Sexual Predator dude played quarterback all year for the Browns. But I still think the Steelers are just like going to be solid. And I certainly think the Ravens and Bengals are going to beat each other up. So yeah, it's, there's a lot of optimism. That's that time of year. Honestly, I listen to Jay go through that stuff. It's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yep, that sounds pretty good too. Yep, I agree with you. They sound like a heck of a team. I do think that here's some new bodies and voila, the offensive line is way better. I do think that might be a little bit optimistic. And I mean, I'm not saying he said that, but for people who think that, might be a little bit optimistic. If that gets figured out, though, because I think Mixon is way overlooked. The guy is a weapon. The receiving core is ridiculous. It's a pretty salty defense. But another thing that he brought up, which is, of course, you could flip it around with the Titans, is the injury luck. Can you count on great luck the next year after you had it? And if you're the Titans, can you count on maybe having a little regression the other way and having better injury luck this year?
Well, look, we spent a lot of time focusing on the Titans here, obviously, and what they didn't do in that game against Cincinnati. And make no mistake about it, the Titans absolutely should have won that game, and they didn't do it. So I understand that. It is kind of amazing that Cincinnati got to the Super Bowl last year with their quarterback still fully intact and getting pummeled as much as he did. I mean, it was from the start of the year to the finish of the year last year where he was just getting rocked left and right. And I think it's a testament, number one, to how good he is and how good I think he's going to be if he can stay healthy, I mean, I'm telling you, that Burrow-Chase combo, as you start to forecast around the league the next few years, what that's going to be, like that to me it's clearly my number one. Like I think Burrow to Chase is going to be the best combination in the league, probably starting this year and for the foreseeable future. I mean, there's other combos that you can take a look at, and we'll see how, Devontae Adams looks with Derek Carr, and, we'll see how, Justin Jefferson responds this year as well. But that combo is going to be elite. It is interesting what Jay threw out there in terms of, like, if you're a team trying to defend the Bengals right now, how much attention are you paying Jamar Chase? And if you're taking him away, what does that do for guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon as well in that offense? That's to me what makes it so difficult, is because I think T. Higgins on a lot of teams could be a number one guy, and on this team he's an excellent number two. So if you start shadowing over to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins can kill you left and right.
Well, thank you for bringing up Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer in Vegas. I wasn't sure you would go there, but
I don't like to mention them, but yeah.
Yeah, again, Burrow, like, not only last year did he come through in one piece, it's coming off a year when he got so battered he tore his ACL. It's like that guy, and that's where long term over the next few years, I'm a huge believer in the Bengals. I don't think that was their last Super Bowl. I think that it's going to be special in Cincinnati because I think he's special. I do look at this season just because you had the surprise run, and it's a totally different mindset for teams who play you every Sunday. Last year, that no one could give a crap about the Bengals until about week 11, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, look at these guys. You play the first place schedule and all that, and the Ravens are they got their guys back and everything. Like I feel like this could be that little bit of a step back year for them, just because of all those factors. But then again, I mean, it's those guys, and they just logged all those important snaps and had so many clutch moments, and you bring the whole defense back, plus what I agree with you is arguably the best quarterback receiver combo in the league. That's a lot to like.
Well, look, everybody's talking about Justin Herbert, and I understand it. The guy's unbelievable, and he's got incredible arm talent, and I love everything about him. There's so many good quarterbacks in the AFC. Joe Burrow is just a different cat, man. That guy he's unbelievably talented, but there's just something about him. I don't know if it's the moxie, I don't know what it is, but the guy just wins. And the fact that he took that team to a Super Bowl in his second year is incredible to me. And the expectation, that's going to be the expectation now moving forward, and that's fine. I think he'll eventually get back there. I don't know that that's going to be this year. But to me, like, I know Josh Allen's great. Mahomes is great. Obviously, Herbert's great too. I think starting this year, here's my hot take for the day. Joe Burrow is going to be the best quarterback in the league this year. This year, he will be the best quarterback in the league.
And you're still picking the Ravens to win the division?
I'm still picking the Ravens to win the division.
Okay. Well, look, I think you hit on – that's the thing. The talent, all that is tremendous. I think Joe Burrow, based on everything I know from reading about him, going back to LSU, the transition from Ohio State to LSU, his willingness to comment on some things socially that a lot of people would stay the heck away from, just his relationships with his teammates. I think he's got a chance to be as good or maybe the best leader in the NFL in the foreseeable future as well. Now, look, he may not be handing out magic mushrooms to his teammates and all going out and
there's only one guy who can do that,
wandering through the desert and having these bonding moments. But maybe he is. I don't know that he isn't. But no, he's.
What if he found somebody to throw the ball to in the desert while he's wandering out there? Not a problem for Joe Burrow.
No, he is special, and I agree. I feel like the Herbert. Like the fact that he would rank ahead of him physically, you could make the case, but the intangibles for Joe Burrow are just way off the charts. Man, we got the Bengals winning it all here.
We have talked to you. I mean, it's gonna be interesting when the Bills and the Bengals somehow go 17-0, both of them, according to you.
Do they play each other?
I have no clue.
If they don't, they both could.
They could. They could. We'll see what happens on that front. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll take a look at Joe Rexrode's 53-man roster for the Titans coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Well, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Celebrate back to school season with Hiller. This month only, get free backyard upgrades when you replace essential home systems like a free Traeger grill with a new whole home generator or a free Yeti cooler with a new tankless water heater. And Hiller's keeping you cool for back to school with zero interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Coming up Tuesday at 10 on Chase Willie and D. Mace, we'll talk to ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck at noon, get his thoughts on the Titans as the 53-man roster begins to take shape. It all starts at 10 here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing the Titans and keeping an eye on NFL roster cutdown day. Rosters due to be down to 53 players today by 3 o'clock, and the cuts continue to roll in. We'll keep you updated on the Titans and some cuts made around the NFL as well. 615-737-1025 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Joe Rexrode, you have come out with your final 53-man projected roster at theathletic.com. It's that time of the year. We're going to grade this very stiffly to see how smart you are and how right you end up being with the Titans and their moves at the end of the day. But as you went through this list, obviously one position battle already taken care of yesterday with Brett Kern being cut and Ryan Stonehouse being named as the punter. What were some of the more difficult decisions that came to mind for you as you were putting together your 53-man roster at theathletic.com?
Well, punter would have been tough, but that got taken care of yesterday. So quarterback is tough. I feel like there's a like the momentum for the idea of sneaking Woodside onto the practice squad makes sense, because is it really devastating if you do lose him? If someone out there, you almost be like, oh, good job, Logan. Congrats, buddy. Now look, doesn't mean you feel good with Malik Willis as QB2 this year. It wouldn't go well. It would be very unlikely to go well if Malik Willis had to come in or start games for the Titans this season. So if that's what the Titans do, they lose Woodside, I think they'd go get someone else. If they go with this, they can put Woodside in the practice squad, and you can still move things around as needed. Because someone, so was it Teresa earlier talking about the importance of getting Willis at work, right? And I agree, but I also think that Malik Willis can help the defense this year. And I think the Titans are going to tap into that in certain weeks. So I think that's the way they'll go. That we'll see. It wasn't easy. Is there a receiver who deserves to get a 6th spot? Is there a tight end who deserves a 4th spot? The question of offensive line, I say Jamarco Jones is out. Some say Dylan Radins is out. Maybe they're both in. I mean, I have Jordan Ruse making the team over Jamarco Jones. So that could be way off, but that's how I look at it. And I got 9 of those guys. Defensive line, that's a tough one. At the bottom, the top 4, I think, Simmons, Autry, Tartan, Jones. I say DeMarcus Walker is the guy, but I mean, Deshaun Hand, you could make the case for Walker and Hand.
Yeah.
I think Murchison's out. Teresa doesn't like, and by the way, if he does make the team, we all need to get together on David Anany, which I think is how you say it, but there's a whole bunch
been about
of
19 different pronunciations, so we're going to have to get to the bottom on that one.
I mean, my goodness, we got to work on that.
I'm just going to call him David A for the time being.
There you go. Because I think Ola A is your 4th guy, but I think he's been so good that they're going to be compelled to make him the 5th guy. And then you get to the linebackers and defensive backs. There's a lot of questions there at the bottom rungs. Joe Jones was great in camp. Is that good enough? Dylan Cole's been banged up. He's a special teams guy. Chance Campbell, I like Chance Campbell. Monty Rice, of course, starts out. He won't be on the roster to start. He's on PUP. Cornerback is Chris Jackson sticking with this team. Swilling and Mabin and Amadi. I got Theo Jackson making the team, but I know some people would disagree with that. I got Joshua Kalu not making this team. I think AJ Moore is the 3rd safety. I think that's clear if he's healthy, and he's been missing some time, but I think he's absolutely on this team. So I've seen some projections out there that didn't have AJ Moore on the team. So I've just basically gone through the whole thing. There's a lot of, it's as usual. When you get to that bottom of the list, it's like, is this guy good enough, or do you need to use that spot elsewhere? And I do think they're going to get an extra spot at quarterback that I did not anticipate when camp started.
I'm interested today to see who the Titans keep as a 6th receiver. If they're going number 6, is it going to be Dez Fitzpatrick? Because, Teresa said earlier on the show she doesn't think it's going to be Dez. She thinks that he's going to get cut and that he had opportunities to make the team and did not take advantage of those opportunities during training camp. So, I don't know. If I had to guess, Joe, Dez Fitzpatrick is probably still who I'd pick if they go 6 wide receivers, but I've got an open mind to Cody Hollister or whoever. I mean, being their number 6 wide receiver, I mean, I guess there's a chance they could just keep 5 and not have 6 either. I'm really interested to see what they do with that number 6 receiver spot today.
Yeah. Look, I think you can make the case for 5 and make the case for whoever else you like being signable to the practice squad. I threw this hot take out yesterday. I'll throw it out again today. So I'll double down on this. Had they not drafted Kyle Phillips, I think Mason Kinsey would be on this team right now, would be on this active roster.
Yeah.
I think he's improved so much, and we'll see if that's been detected around the league, because it's not like there's been a ton on display in the preseason games, but I think he has improved so much that he's good enough for someone else to pick him up off waivers today. He's not going to make this active roster, but there's a guy who could be scooped up. I don't think Des Fitzpatrick would be. So if you're the Titans and you think that, well, put him on the practice squad then, once he clears waivers. And Hollister, Hollister is worth a mention too, for sure. I think, again, I went 6 and I went with Dez. I don't feel great about it. Tight end's really interesting. We talked about Pruitt earlier.
Yeah, Dennis on the text line says, who are you cutting when Michael Pruitt gets signed, with a crying, laughing emoji face?
Yeah, well, hey, I'm not going to shame anybody anymore about Michael Pruitt. That's a really that's worth a mention. And Michael Pruitt versus Tommy Hudson. I mean, I think they moved on from Michael Pruitt, and they've done it before. Do they need a fourth tight end? I think that those 3 guys who are locks are going to, take up the bulk of the snaps, but it might not be a bad idea to have a fourth tight end active on game days. So there's a lot of these positions that, I mean, you could make a case for like really going heavy at D line and corner, just because you have so many guys who are similar to each other. But again, it's sort of like the question of, okay, how many of these guys do you feel good about just being able to put on the practice squad, and then they're there if you need them?
Smashville Citizen on Twitter says about this 53-man roster we're talking about. I think he thinks we're talking about like Malik Willis coming in and taking Tannehill's job. Says, such a bad take, digging into Stillman's bag of crap again. Y'all are better than this. If there were a quarterback controversy, Tannehill would have played in the preseason to give him a chance to compete, and y'all know it. # lame topic. Are we talking about a quarterback controversy between Tannehill and Malik Willis? If you want that, turn it on like ESPN.
Who's saying this?
It was on Twitter. I think they've since deleted it.
Oh, it's on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. I'm looking at the text. I'm like, what? Yeah. I mean,
because, well, I will say, like the headline of your tweet about your 53-man roster is like, is a rookie quarterback about to shake up the Titans depth chart? And I guess he thought, oh, he's coming for Tannehill's job. Oh my goodness.
Ooh. Maybe that'll get the story more clicks. People think
maybe.
I'm predicting a Tannehill man. So I mentioned this earlier about something else. So went on Las Vegas radio yesterday talking about the Titans and got the question. So Malik Willis, can he take over Tannehill's jobs and elevate this team? And I was like, no. And they're like, no. I'm like, no, he's not going to get me close to the field. I mean, I was nice about it, but it's like, dude, it's amazing, like how much that is a thing. Like it's not like rookie quarterbacks don't ever do this, but I think it's a combination of as bad as Tannehill was in the playoffs last year, and as much as his overall performance dipped, like he's still like a lot better than people realize around the league, right? I mean,
yes.
Is that fair to say? And then just the lack of understanding, like, guys, Willis, all the teams passed on him multiple times, okay? Like, why would that be? Like, it's a project, folks. So, no, Twitter person who thankfully deleted your tweet, I hope that you figured that out.
I hope so as well. Now, I will say this. If the Titans decide that Malik Willis is the number 2, much like, forget the Logan Woodside thing for a second and whether or not he makes it to the practice squad, what if the Titans are like, yeah, Malik Willis is our backup quarterback? Is that the right decision if you're John Robinson and Mike Vrabel?
Well, you can do better than that. And you can still make a case right now that, and I could make the case right now that Logan Woodside is just the safeness of game management of 1 game or 2 games. You still have a little bit better chance. You got a better chance for more plays with Malik Willis, but there's still a long way to go there. And eventually he'll be way beyond Woodside, I think. Okay. But right now you could make that case, and you could certainly make the case that there are other guys out there who may be available who could be better options. So even if this is what it turns out to be today, where it's Willis and Tannehill and Woodside cut, I'm keeping an open mind on the Titans still tinkering at that spot.
We'll continue to go through Joe Rexrode's 53-man Titans roster. Also keep you updated on more cuts rolling in around the league, including Arthur Smith just dismantling what I thought was going to be a really good thing down there in Atlanta as well. We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center, On Fox 17 Code Red, meteorologist Greg Bobus. Morning temperatures in the 70s. Scattered showers and storms weakening throughout this morning into the afternoon. Will dry out after lunchtime. Humidity decreasing as well. High temperatures for today in the upper 80s to near 90.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Save big this Labor Day at Electronic Express. Get a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for only $599 or an LG laundry pair for $599 each. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on a Microsoft Surface Pro 8 bundle for just $899 or an Xbox Series S bundle for only $379. Shop in-store or online with up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
Who do you call when you need a new floor? R&S Wood Flooring, or refinish the old one that you've got. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. Bring beauty to every room in your home. R&S Wood Flooring.
R&S Flooring is Nashville's leading flooring company for over 30 years. Say no to inflation and save big this summer at R&S Flooring. Save on all hardwoods, tile, carpet, and LVT flooring. Take advantage of our 12 months same as cash financing and don't make a payment until 2023. Simply go online at rnsflooring.com and schedule your free estimate today. No waiting, no hassles. It's that easy. Call 615-771-0084 today and schedule your free in-home estimate, or visit us online at rnsflooring.com and start visualizing your new floors today.
R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring. R&S Wood Flooring.
Chase McCabe.
Competition in all positions.
Willie Donick.
You know what? I went on the radio and I tried.
And Derek Mason.
The man that sleeps on the floor never falls out to bed.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Take a look at the Titans' 53-man roster, also keeping you up to date with some other moves being made around the league. By the way, Joe, Arthur Smith, so he got rid of Michael Pruitt today. Falcons cut him. Now they're releasing Cam Batson, too. What's going on down there? I thought they were going to be the Titans of the deeper South down there in Atlanta, but Cam Batson being released, Michael Pruitt released, McNichols was released a couple of weeks ago. Not so much for the Atlanta Titans. Going to be back to the Atlanta Falcons. At least Marcus going to make the team.
Are these actually all a bunch of guys who pissed off Arthur Smith when he was here, cut in front of him in the lunch line or something, and he just wanted to torment them,
maybe so,
tease them, and that's very disappointing, Art. Very disappointing. Cam Batson, God, that guy's just great. What a great story.
I don't think he's going to make a return trip to the Titans. I don't think that Cam Batson is going to be Cam Batson's out there, let's make him our sixth guy. I don't think that's going to happen.
I would agree with you. Can I do a quick shaming on the text line?
Sure.
Yeah, Junie, our resident. Junie, our resident Steelers. Fanatic. Joe, there's absolutely nothing special about Cincinnati.
Wow.
All right, Junie. So do you have the Steelers finishing ahead of the Bengals? He's doing the whole teams are coming for them, first place schedule, all that stuff. they will ruin it. Owner doesn't want to pay for anything. I don't know, Junie.
Hey, they're getting an indoor practice facility. They just tweeted about it. So, like, congratulations. You're gonna actually be able to practice indoors in Cincinnati here pretty soon. I'm sure Burrow's excited about that.
Yeah, that is something that you would have thought might have happened in 1978, but still, progress.
Glad that they're getting with the times.
Now here's another one here. If Willis is number 2, how many picks does Tannehill get before fans are calling for Willis to start? Some fans actually now think he should be the starter. So, like, I mean, some people think the earth is flat. Like, like any large group of people, you can find some folks who are like, what? But they don't like represent the majority of a fan base. I would say the majority of the Titans fan base understands that Ryan Tannehill not starting this year is because of injury or because like the season has gone downhill and now it's like, okay, like they're not going to make the playoffs. Great. Get Malik Willis some work. I mean, those are the two scenarios. There's no other.
I would totally agree with that. So the offensive line, it got a little bit more interesting yesterday. The Titans trade for Dennis Daly from Carolina, who's coming in. So you've got Radens, Corey Levin, Jordan Ruse. You got a bunch of different guys at the offensive line spot that may be in danger of being cut today. How does the Dennis Daly acquisition that the Titans made yesterday, which I'm assuming he's going to make the team after you trade for him, how does that impact what this room could look like for guys like Radens or maybe a Jamarco Jones as well, who we've not seen a lot of thus far in camp?
So my depth chart, my 53 that I turned in yesterday before this move, which of course forced me to do some phone typing at a JV football game in Franklin. I had Jalen McKenzie as my last guy, a developmental rookie from USC, offensive tackle. I popped him off and I put Daly in. That doesn't mean Daly's there on the depth chart. He's higher than that, but I'm just saying that's who I took off. I already had Jamarco Jones off. Could be wrong there. Maybe off on this. I just think that, I think Jamarco Jones, not that Kendall Lamb didn't make the team last year, he's still on the team, but Jamarco Jones reminds me of that acquisition, just not what the Titans thought they were getting. And so that's what I'm projecting is that he's not on this team. Now I put McKenzie off this team too. Could definitely be a practice squad guy. I think Daly is possibly the swinging tackle, possibly just the backup to Lawan at left tackle, but certainly just adds to your tackle depth. And how do they view Dylan Radens? I don't know. I think they view him as a guy who's still worthy of an active roster spot. I think the massive disappointment of being a second-round pick can cloud the vision of you still have to look at him in the context of other offensive linemen on this roster. Look at his performance against some of them. I mean, he wasn't the only one who was getting thrown around by, defensive linemen in preseason games. Like, it's kind of slim pickings here. I think Dylan Radens is still a guy they feel like could give some depth inside or outside. And it's not like Nicholas Petit-Frere is miles ahead of him right now. It's just not the case.
No, and then there's the safety position where they've been, mixing and matching and tinkering to try to find something there that works throughout the whole camp thus far. And they did make a move yesterday. Tyree Gillespie, who they traded for, got cut. So the Raiders were going to receive a conditional pick if he made the team, and he did not make the team. So Gillespie cut yesterday by the Titans at safety. And now you've got guys, will Theo Jackson make the team? How injured is A.J. Moore? What do the Titans do at the safety spot? Where is Hugo Amadi going to play? Is he going to be a safety? Is he going to be a corner? How do they view him? Like, there's a lot of different, answers or different questions out there that they're going to have to answer today. But safety, obviously we've talked about this a ton. You hope it's Byard and Hooker and not much else there. But I'm interested to see who makes the 53 at that spot because they've been trying like mad to figure that out all preseason long.
The only person I feel great about is A.J. Moore. I feel great about him being on this roster. He's been banged up, but they didn't put him on anything, so I assume then he's going to be on this roster based on the reps he got in camp. I think that's clear. Theo Jackson, I I feel okay about. And then I had Lonnie Johnson as my 5th safety, and that's where I'm like, man, I mean, Joshua Kalu, maybe he's the better choice there. I just feel like in the defense as a safety, Lonnie Johnson gives you a little bit more. We know that Kalu has extensive special teams experience here, so that's a tough one. But like you said, Robbie, you want that depth to just be there as depth, just in case, because there's a massive drop off.
Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. David from McKenzie texting in says, I would love to see the Titans sign O.J. Howard to be the number 2 or number 3 tight end. What do you think of the O.J. Howard part of this with the Titans? I don't give that much chance of happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. And I just, look, O.J. Howard with what he's supposed to be is a number 1 tight end. O.J. Howard with what he realistically is in this league, he's a guy who's cut and is just sitting there for someone to sign. He's not a 2 or 3 tight end. I know there's a lot of people who just don't like Jeff Swain. You know, he's not an exciting player, but the Titans like him, and he's solid. And it's going to be a heavy dose of Hooper and Swain this year, I think, in 2 tight end sets. And then Chikakonkwo is a nice rookie number 3 tight end who's going to be mixed into the offense, and I think it makes some nice plays. So O.J. Howard, look, again, I love his measurables and loved watching him play at Alabama. There's a reason he's out there right now.
Heidi from Dixon on the text line says the Falcons can't keep decent players that Robinson cut. They have to tank so they can get Pitts a franchise quarterback. I mean, they did just draft Desmond Ridder. So, like, do we think that Atlanta's going in the tank for a QB this year? I don't know. Maybe they are.
I don't think so. I think that I think Arthur Smith. I don't think Arthur Smith is going to feel great about. Let's go 3-14 this year. I mean, you know, like at some point, I think this is a year they want to show progress, and then it probably at some point make the transition from Mariota to Ridder. Although I'd love to see Mariota be, you know, comeback player of the year, NFL man of the year, MVP, whatever the case may be.
You think Marcus can hold off Ridder the whole year as a starting QB?
I don't think they're going to be good, so I think that at some point it'll probably be Ridder in there. I'd love to see Marcus get a whole year and play well, but I think at some point Ridder probably supplants him.
No faith whatsoever in Mariota. It's disappointing to hear from you. I expect it from me. I expect more from you.
Well, you know, I mean, if it was nice guy Olympics, I mean, he's, you know, setting a gold medal record, but it's not that. Hey, again, it'd be fun to watch. I've said this before. Run him, use that skill set, lean in on that, make your offense about that. But then again, if Ridder's going to come in week 6 anyway, how much do you make the offense that? I don't know.
We'll keep you updated throughout the show and throughout the day here today on 102.5, 106.3 The Game on cuts around the league. The 53-man roster due by 3 o'clock today, so you'll continue to see cuts come in hot and heavy throughout the waiver wire today. We'll see if Brett Kern ends up anywhere today. That's going to be interesting to watch as well over the course of the next couple of days as to whether or not Brett Kern continues to play football, and if so, where is that going to be? Joe, that's going to do it for us today. We'll have a big show tomorrow. Paul Kaharski on with us. We'll take a look at the Baltimore Ravens tomorrow as well with Jeff Zrebeck as well. So looking forward to that. Good stuff today, Joseph.
You too, folks. Nice work.
We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Chase, Willie, and D-Mace is up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom, base hit, Sounds win.